almost took some really harsh jabs at Koma and then just got shut down. And
that trash talking was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. My favorite was looking at Koma's face when he was saying that.
He was so mad. He was like, you just wait. You just wait, kid. And then SKT did get the win. But we're right going into bans. LeBlanc being banned out against Goong actually from Kuro, although Kuro does play a pretty good LeBlanc himself too. And that's it. They really just want to try to limit Goong's champion pool, trying to...
I think this is very wise.
Yeah.
Kuro, they're very different players. Kuro, not much of an assassin player. There's the Azir ban. So Kuro always known for that heavy control mage style, and Goong as the assassin player. So you're not really hurting Kuro's champion pool too much. Narban will be going down. They may want to take Hecarim for Smeb. And what will the last ban be? It will be the Cassiopeia, so...
Whoa, okay, yeah. Didn't think we were going to see Rise. Maokai possibly for that top lane instead of Hecarim. Both being very strong in the top lane still.
I think you take Hecarim or Maokai here for sure. And that's what it's going to be, Maokai.
Nautilus being pondered over. I mean, Watch had some really good mechanics with that Gragas, and Gragas definitely a top-tier jungle pick right now for everyone.
And Watch always has one champion that he can play, that he really prioritizes, and we've seen a lot of that Gragas priority between teams, but the Nautilus is a bit interesting for Pure, and there is a very fast lock-in of a Lulu and a Rek'Sai, so we may see a return to Juggermawing here from the KOO Tigers.
I mean, Smeb put up a good fight with it against SKT. We'll see if KOO tries to go back to their roots.
So what is Goong going to play here? Because he doesn't have too many options. Remember, all the champions that he pretty much played in the opening series are gone at this point in time. Could play Kassadin, I suppose, but that's going to be a little bit tough, I think, against Lulu early.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't really expect the Yasuo.
Ahri or Kassadin.
Ahri seems really reasonable. I mean, Goong was known for his Ahri 2 during his debut, as Ahri and Gragas making some really big highlight videos. Okyu, welcome back to Youngstown Esports Stadium. We missed you for the last couple of days, but...
Where you play Vayne. I mean, I do love the synergy between Gragas and Vayne. Isolating that target for Vayne can be very good, where she can burst them down quickly and then continue to tumble forward into the rest of the team once you have a man advantage. So I like it. They've got a great pick comp going on now with the Ahri, with the Vayne, but their team fighting is going to be somewhat limited. As Gorilla taking a look at that Annie right now.
It could add for some really good hard initiate for the KOO Tigers. I mean, they do have Maokai, but you want an AoE initiate and then lead into the Maokai with Wild Growth. That could be a pretty big combo, or even Rek'Sai with a Wild Growth. And if that's the case, yeah, I wouldn't expect something like an Ashe.
Lewis Sport.
Oh, okay. All right, Vladimir mid.
So mixing it up right there. They want the Vladimir just to dodge a lot of these Ahri skill shots, and they're picking the Vlad into the Vayne as well, because Vlad has a pretty easy time soloing Vayne. As we saw, that is something that CJ had to deal with when they played against Anarchy, where we saw Mickey just 1v1 dueling Space's Vayne and being very successful, because there's really nothing Vayne can do once you pull the Condemn. And that sustain allows you to take some pretty favorable trades right there. And Ahri not going to be too threatening to a Vladimir early either. You're pretty much going to have to push up. And are we going to see a top lane Nautilus? I guess
this is the thing today. I mean,
this is a thing today, I suppose.
Probably not is my bet.
Are you sure? I think we are.
I don't know. I had so much faith in it in the first match, and they made me lose it, and here we are looking at top lane Nautilus. I mean, what is this world coming to?
Lulu on support. Top lane Nautilus this time around. That's a very punishing lane, though. I mean, Lulu, Lucian, just the autos from Lucian and Lulu alone are going to be really difficult for Najin to deal with an Alistar Vayne combo. The trades are going to be absolutely brutal. So if Najin doesn't get a lane swap here, I'd be very concerned about them. And the Tigers Kuro going to be playing that Vladimir this time. Kuro not one of the...
Welcome everyone to match number 7 of the summer season. You know what is pretty sad is to see how much smaller the support for the Najin organization has become from their fan club. They used to have one of the biggest fan clubs rivaling CJ Interest for a while in League of Legends. Kind of has died down. But Watch is still there to keep a hold of them.
Keep a hold of the fangirls, yes. Yes, he is. And Peanut as well.
That's true.
We haven't seen Peanut yet this season, actually.
Yeah, maybe trying to brush up a little bit more. Maybe even see if Watch can continue being a starter, perhaps.
Just some wards down right now. Najin really wants to get this lane swap off. I think that they would be in a lot of trouble if they don't get it. Just because of how fast that lane is going to be pushed in, how much trouble, even with the Alistar heal they will have in terms of keeping OQ in lane and farming, just with the passive from Lucian and Lulu doing a lot of work there. So see what they can pull off. Rek'Sai will be starting on the top side. Looks like Prey and Gorilla happy just to be in the bottom lane right now, and we are going to get the 2v2, it would appear.
Yeah.
And they're trying to defend those saplings, actually, so 3 saplings going down. Raptors will go over to Maokai, that means. Two saplings would be Vladimir, and 3 will be Maokai. So Smeb going to take some of that XP right off the bat before helping Hojin, the player formerly known as Lee, on his Gromp.
And the Najin duo coming into lane to, just take some damage from the start, and that's how the rest of the laning phase is going to be for them.
This is a really brutal time for OQ, and I have to say, they do have a really good pick composition, but I question this repeated pick of Vayne. OQ just does weird things sometimes. He tried to make Twitch work at the end of last season to disastrous results, and Najin trying to go away from the meta a little bit, and they did win with Vayne, but I'm not going to say they won because of Vayne in that last game.
Yeah, I'd say it was somewhat far from it, to be fair. But we'll see if he can put up a better game this time around in the first set against the KOO Tigers.
And I like the Tigers' reaction to it, however. Just what they did, they used the Lulu as a flex pick there, weren't afraid to take that Vladimir as a result, and now they're still harassing heavily under this tower.
Yeah, Gorilla really keeping up the pressure against OQ.
That's
wow.
so brutal.
And that's forced Pure to really just constantly be healing OQ. He's going to run out of mana at some point soon in another wave or two if he has to keep that up.
Yeah, the damage is getting down onto the tower as well. They're going to be losing some CS. OQ already a few CS down, and we're going to take a little bit of a pause, I suppose. Why not? Need a break early on, right?
Yeah, it's been some time. It looks like possibly Kuro with a technical difficulty, but we will wait to get an update. OQ already looks very concerned.
Well,
he's like, oh no, what have I done? It's coming on. It's all coming back to me.
I mean, I wasn't even that impressed with OQ's Vayne mechanics in that game. His tumbling wasn't stellar. Mechanically, he was a little off too with his QSS usage. Pretty slow.
Whose Vayne was more impressive, OQ or Space?
Oh, jeez.
These are the 80 carries we deal with now in Korea, Monty.
I'm trying to think if there's a good Vayne player left in Korea. I don't think there is. Imp is gone.
Imp is gone. Piglet's gone.
Yeah, those were the 2 good ones.
Yeah, and they really were good. I miss the days when Piglet would pick Vayne and then just roam after taking care of the lane phase. Yeah.
Split push forever.
And then just go and gank for impact and get some kills. Well, it looks like everything's solved no matter what the problem was, and the players will be double checking to make sure everything's all right in game as we jump right back in with OQ getting hit once again.
And it looks like actually Gorilla gonna back off from it, do some roaming here. Goong in the mid lane has to flash immediately. Hojin on the 330 gank and watches there, but Gorilla just tags him with a glitter lance so he can't join in from the side. Has control of that speed shrine already.
Not entirely sure, since Hojin was already ganking the lane, what exactly Gorilla was looking for there on the roam.
I think he was a little afraid that there might be a jungler coming in, a counter gank, so maybe he can They were already pushed up to that turret, but yes, it did relieve some of the pressure on this bottom side, allow OQ to catch up in terms of CS.
But they'll put it right back onto OQ and Pure. Shouldn't really be an issue. We do have Watch here in the bottom lane, though. With that relief, he's starting to just get right into that. There's the flash on the Prey and headbutt back. There's the body slam, and he's just knocked all the way back with the condemn. He doesn't want to give the free kill to OQ at the tower, so he's just going to walk right back into the Vayne.
And Watch didn't have to flash there either. Pure burning his flash right away. And they knew the Gragas was on the bottom side of the map, so they had wards on the chokes and on the river, but they didn't anticipate the lane gank right there. So pretty bad mistake there from the Tigers, playing up like that and playing so close to the brush, and Prey making the error of dodging and didn't burn any of his summoners, however.
Yeah, and OQ will get a nice start ahead in CS, got first blood. Hopefully he can make something out of that towards the late game. Prey coming back just with double long swords as OQ does pick up that Vamp Scepter to keep him
Yeah, that was
longer
huge in this lane that Prey and Gorilla were doing quite well in beforehand. They gave them the back too, which is probably the biggest thing because that allows Alistar to refill on that mana at the same time. So that worked out extremely well from Najin. Good gank by Watch.
Yeah, Watch really seems to be on top of things as he's playing this Gragas. We saw that in the opening match, and he's just going to get a little bit of damage down onto Smeb too as he gets spotted. Won't have a chance to clear that ward as the minions are chasing him down.
I'm really excited to see Duke play this top lane Nautilus. Like I was saying before, Trace is the one who was doing it a lot in solo queue, and Jin Air is the team that tried it once to not very good effect, but in theory, this champion has so much lockdown potential, especially when you get a lot of items. Like I said, Trace usually builds full attack speed reds for his runes, and then will get a third or fourth item Wit's End just to get a maximum number of auto attacks down in a fight. Hojin looking for a gank.
Hojin's really set up for this, and Smeb is level 6. Duke not level 6 yet. He's going to get caught with the twist, and Duke just going to have to use his ultimate to try for an escape. He's trying to use his flash after the dredge line, but not going to hit, so he'll save his flash for now. Meanwhile, bottom, a slight duel between the 2v2.
Yeah, and in that gank too, Smeb had absolutely no mana left to follow up on that one. So you do see Rek'Sai having to flash there just to make sure they got sufficient damage down to secure that kill. Duke's not going to be too worried about it, though. He has his TP up. He's just going to TP right back to the turret. Not going to lose much in terms of experience or gold, and the kill also not going to Smeb. So
yeah,
it's like Duke probably going to go Catalyst first and then build into Righteous Glory. Pretty expected on this top lane Maokai. Or Maokai, Nautilus. He could go Rod, though, too. I'm curious. Curious what he's going to do.
Righteous Glory does seem a little bit more probable, and Pure helping out Watch clear out that pink ward, making sure he has an exit as he provides some support there in the middle part of the map. And Najin setting up a lot of wards around that Dragon Pit, possibly looking for an angle for Gragas to take that dragon if he finds a chance. Meanwhile, mid lane, both champions do have their ultimates. We'll see if Boom tries to make something happen with the Spirit Rush. Probably not, given that his opponent is a Vladimir. Smeb taking a lot of damage from Duke, so he'll just have to use his Vengeful Maelstrom to deny that duel. Still takes a little bit with the minions there on the side of Duke.
Well, the XP advantage swung in favor of Duke right there, because even though we saw Smeb hit 6 first, because Smeb walked back to lane and Duke TP'd, Smeb got the TP advantage, but he is taking a little bit more damage as a result of his decision to hold on to that summoner spell right there. Both players getting pretty darn low, though, and health pots in favor of Smeb, so Najin's Duke going to have to go back right away, maxing that E in lane as you do, and pretty much any position.
Yep, he actually just fakes it and then decides he's just going to ward up, assumes that Smeb will go back and he'll be back in lane farming. Smeb's still not going to use his teleport.
He's going to have to now, I think. If he doesn't want to fall further behind, yeah.
You
force it. That was actually a really clever move by Duke. Walk into the river right there. Fake that teleport out just to get the summoner, and now Smeb not going to be able to use that on the opposite side of the map to make a play. And Duke will open up about a 2.5-minute window where he'll be able to use that board instead. The mind games
Yeah, that is really clever. While Hojin was in the bottom lane, looking for an angle, not going to find it, so will not port back. We'll actually just walk back as he's spotted there with the scrying orb from OQ.
It'd be really helpful even to have those little tunnels like that, though, because you can cover so much ground if Prey and Gorilla are able to defend that tunnel on the bottom side. As you can see, Gorilla just firing off a Glitter Lance there for some zone control. KOO going to take the Raptors and really start to farm up right now. Already has that Hextech Revolver, and he's getting into that point where Vlad is really going to be able to start wave clearing in the next couple of levels. And the all-in potential from Ahri is really difficult. I mean, Vlad is a great pick against Najin's composition because they need to make picks here. Their composition is all about making picks, and that most of their damage being single target. And Vlad is just, he's going to dodge the charm, he's going to dodge your CC, and get away pretty easily considering he has 2 mobility summoners as well.
Yeah, KOO will kind of be the highlight for the KOO Tigers later on if we get into team fights. And of course, a lot relies on OQ here and his teammates to set something up for him to avoid those situations against Vladimir. So positioning later on, and of course teleport battles between the top laners will matter quite a bit. Hojin looking for an angle from behind with Smeb too, and they're just going to go in there. There's Spirit Rush, but it gets disrupted with the knock-up, and Goong will just die to the Hema Plague from KOO. Nice back off from the rest of his teammates too after the Hema Plague goes down. Yeah,
Hojin not even having the flash there, but getting underneath with the knock-up. Smeb choosing to flash on the roam, so had everything pushed up. Look at the vision coverage already down as well from the Tigers. That was a very safe gank to execute. They had eliminated a lot of those wards. Good pinks, and so clean gank right there. Gets KOO a kill, and he completes his Will of the Ancients. And Goong opting to start this time with the Morello Nomicon. Probably, you would think, building into Luden's Echo next.
Yeah, would help a lot, especially inside Vladimir is going to keep pushing up. Spirit Rush down for Goong, though, so he's not going to be able to exert too much pressure in the mid lane. Najin's still trying to take this chance to go for a solo dragon. Now OQ going to also come up here. Even though the wave is pushing in favor of KOO, they left the lane, so they just want to try to make this dragon as quick as possible. And OQ going to leave in the middle of it as they deem it safe enough with no one being spotted right at the red buff from KOO Tigers.
Yeah, Tigers just choosing to give this up too. I mean, they didn't even use the Void Rush right there, and we just see Hojin going over and warding right now afterwards. So they knew what they were sacrificing in order to make that play, but they get a free recall. Meanwhile, Vayne's still not in lane. OQ doing a great job of just keeping up in terms of CS. Already has that Blade of the Ruin King finish, so a nice advantage for him in this lane after that early gank was so successful.
And KOO getting a deep ward in against the Najin team. He's going to clear that ping. Gets hit by a charm, but not too concerned as his teammates show up. And Goong doing his job to clear the deep ward from KOO with his lens.
And there's just not a whole lot that Goong's able to do in terms of sustain in this lane either. He's going to lose out over time on these trades, even though he does have that passive that gives him a little bit of spell vamp from time to time. It's just Vlad is really coming into his own right now. This is where Vlad gets very strong. Continue to push the wave, constantly chipping away at your tower. Goong trying to take those little raptors right there. Doesn't have time to finish the big one off, though, and that unrelenting pressure that KOO's putting on, just walking right up to that minion wave and pushing, pushing, pushing.
Yeah, KOO trying to start to extend that CS lead. Meanwhile, bottom, thanks to the early lifesteal from OQ, not as concerned about the rest, although that kind of hurts now with the Glitter Lance being upgraded.
But now that he has the Blade and he's got the Alistar heal, it doesn't really matter that he's going to be losing these trades.
KOO's caught in the middle. He already pulled, so there's a charm afterwards. A little bit of a misstep for him, going way too deep for wards against Najin.
Yeah, especially without backup right there. Your bottom lane is pushed in. Hojin's just not there to help you out. So you walk into a blind jungle like that and you expose yourself to an all-in attempt.
KOO Tigers did spot watch from the Dragon Pit, so they're going to play pretty safely here in the bottom lane. Hojin also making his way down bottom in case they still go for a dive, although we probably won't see that with the Lulu there for ultimate being live. And Hojin spots the red buff steal attempt from watch. Will he be able to stop it though? Pure is also here, so is OQ. And yeah, they're just going to have to back off from that as Watch smites it.
Oh yeah, some mistakes here from the Tigers early on, and this is where they struggled throughout the season. There are so many games that they would start out in a hole in the laning phase because their laning phase simply wasn't up to par compared to a lot of the other teams. But then, just due to great use of item power spike timings and good team fighting, they would be able to come back from behind and take a win. And it worked for them for a long time, but it's still a weakness that this team has that they haven't, I think, really shored up yet. At least looking like it in this game, making some mistakes in terms of getting caught out alone or not respecting where Watch is. Both of the kills from Najin coming from not really thinking about where Watch could be in the map, even though they had some information.
Really makes you wonder that perhaps the Najin in them never really left. I mean, that's the way they played when they were in Najin. Yeah, they would wait until those power spike timings. Also, when his expression was back on Shield for Najin, we saw that a lot from that organization too. So
it's a long time ago. I wonder what happened to Expression.
I think he still plays here and there, I've heard. See him now and then in game from other people's clips, but for now, we're back to farming in this game. Not much, and it is that Rod of Ages actually from Duke for that Nautilus.
Yeah, I think usually Trace does go for the Rod of Ages first in this build. And try and just deal a little bit more damage with Nautilus in the late game. And since, I mean, Pure maybe going for a Righteous Glory anyway, and Glory not actually the most necessary, I would say, in this composition. You have a lot of ways to pick somebody off already with the crowd control that you have, and the mobility coming in from Alistair and from Ahri, as well as Gragas. I mean, you can close those gaps pretty quickly,
yeah,
so.
That makes sense. I am gonna assume we are also seeing those attack speed runes on Duke, just given his animations in lane. Of course, we'll be able to double check that once the day is over. Hojin hasn't really been doing too much. I mean, he's had a couple successful ganks, but being relatively inactive, just farming away as Watch goes for the Rift Scuttler on the bottom side. Dragon is up in a minute and a couple more seconds afterwards.
Yep, just more and more farming. It's been a very farm-heavy day, except for that game 2 with SK Telecom, where they were mostly just farming Spanish champions. It's a little bit of a different story that time around.
Game 1 made up for all of that.
It's Abyssal Scepter, actually, next on Goong, so very concerned with these trades from Vladimir, actually. But that'll delay a lot of damage from Ahri. Will help with Nautilus' damage just a little bit, and Gragas' as well. So perhaps in a team fight, they'll be outputting just a little bit more, but we're dead even in this game right now. But Najin having that completed Blade of the Ruin King, no Infinity Edge yet, and not really that close either for Prey.
That teleports up for both top laners. Dragon waits to spawn in 20 seconds. We were just trying to keep up the pressure in mid lane, but KOO's not going to let down either. Prey getting a nice ward towards the river there to make sure they know exactly when Najin leaves the lane. Goes for the Dragon. Hojin making his way back towards the bottom side of the map. Looks like both teams might start to gather a little bit. Oh, Goong and KOO getting in a little bit of a scuffle, but neither one taking too much damage. OQ trying to get pressured out by the KOO Tigers, but again, all that sustain we mentioned earlier. Nice check by Hojin, but Watch will just get rid of that ward. Probably sit there again.
Merc Tread's actually from KOO as well, and against the composition they're dealing with this amount of CC, that's probably a wise decision. Good warding from both teams, actually. No one with complete control over the pit yet. Not really any movement. No one is in a position to go ahead and take this at this juncture. Smeb already has the home guards. He has a chance right now to recall. It's actually going to start punching a pink ward in the tri-brush up in topside. Duke's going to cut him off.
Yeah, and Smeb, he needs to watch which path he takes out of that. Might just have to walk back to lane as we see Goong starting to maybe make his way up top. KOO trying to make sure he can follow if he does. And so no moves on Dragon. Both teams deciding that it's too dead even to take a risk. Let's try to wait until the other team makes a little slip up, and KOO gonna take this chance after they push up the bottom lane to clear some of that vision near the dragon. Watch is still nearby. Hojin might have sensed that with his tremor sense, so he'll back off from the mid lane. smev just using Twisted Advance to come back towards his tower.
Yeah, Duke really winning a lot of these trades, however. And smev is trying to get a Frozen Heart first to help deal with this Vayne, but it's not helping him in the lane at all. So his itemization not really for the laning phase here outside of those Merc treads. Of course, with that home guard already up, he wants to fight this Vayne as soon as possible and really make her life quite difficult. Although what is good is that the Frozen Heart will limit some of the CC from Nautilus's passive. So it does have some upside, just not in terms of the damage that is going to be coming in these team fights. And KOO just slowly farming his way. Already has the distortion enchantment for that uptime on his Ghost and Flash as well. And he probably is going to be working towards that Zhonya's Hourglass, particularly against the Vayne at this point in time. But no real attempt at this dragon. smev slowly losing control over his tower.
Yeah, Duke's been keeping under pressure really well. Abyssal Scepter also finished for KOO on the side of Najin. So both mid laners going back and getting some crucial itemization done before a possible dragon fight. KOO also just picked up that blue buff, so Najin may be looking for an angle once again. They have gotten some vision in the river again, but it's been shared by the KOO Tigers and not too much behind the dragon pit. And there we go, Pure finally getting some vision behind there, but they're still just in broad daylight for the KOO Tigers if they start that dragon. KOO tried to position himself first, and there's a teleport coming in from smev actually from home with the home guard, and he's gonna Twisted Advance onto Watch. This an explosive cast to keep all of KOO Tigers behind, and KOO's putting out so much damage onto KOO. He actually has to pull out, and Gorilla caught way behind the fight against OGN. Meanwhile, Prey gets a kill, but Oki's going to clean up Gorilla and join the fight once again as Watch starts to chase smev. smev's going to have to flash away from the charm, and that should be a clean dragon for Najin.
And those little skirmishes where everyone is broken up is exactly the kind of fight that Najin wants. They want to duel with this Ahri in the Vayne, and KOO did a great job of just dealing with Vladimir from the outside. KOO not really able to do anything in spite of using both summoners right there, getting into the fight with just a sliver of HP. And I'm not even sure how Prey took so much damage on the outside, but I mean, KOO's composition, they don't want to engage where they are broken up. They want to be all together as a unit and trying to poke a little bit with the culling or get some Vladimir transfusions off before going in. So Prey right here tries to get the culling, but he gets smacked into a wall and takes a lot of damage immediately. Duke is right there. Prey takes the depth charge. What a great cue from KOO over the side as well, right as that depth charge hits. So nice skill shot from KOO, and KOO's play on this Ahri. He basically took out both carries in that fight.
Yeah, really good positioning and skill shots from KOO. I
mean, we know that KOO is an amazing Ahri player. That doesn't come as any surprise. He's been playing this champion for years at this point, both in and out of meta. I mean, he's famous for playing Ahri even when no one else is.
Yes, it's definitely one of his signature champions since the beginning.
But will they be able to do a lot late with this composition? Looks like Duke moving towards that Frozen Heart, and Prey opting to do the Ghostblade build on Dilution. He does prefer this build. He's one of the few players in Korea that does like to pop that Ghostblade and really maximize his culling damage.
KOO choosing to take that blue, as Hojin also doesn't really need it on the reg side. Might as well get the cooldown for himself and the experience, but KOO's going to take that chance to shove down the tier 1 in mid a lot, and KOO having taken maybe a little too long at that blue buff. KOO's just going to go ahead and take it. A charm for the escape.
I mean, the game's still really close, but Najin has that slight advantage in terms of gold, but really it's the dragon advantage that they're going to be quite happy with here.
So Hojin trying to show up in mid lane, but Watch is right there for a counter gank, and Hojin's going to spot him with the Tremor Sense. He's going to clear that ward right away with the help of his pink for the KOO Tigers. Najin's starting to feel pretty good about this game, despite the minuscule difference in gold.
I would still be worried about Najin if they engage in true 5v5s in the late game. Now, they have the tools to force these skirmishes. I think the Nautilus ult, another thing to lock somebody down, to give Ahri and Vayne time to burst, but KOO is going to get really tanky with the ultimate as well from Lulu on the support pick. So they may be able just to ride out the burst from Ahri, and if that's true, then the Vayne should be a pretty easy target to go for.
Alright. Duke's still trying to put up some pressure in the top lane, but smeM's doing okay for himself. A little behind in CS, but has a clean 0-0-3 score. Bottom lane has been pretty much the same for some time. OQ did fall a little bit more behind in CS, but still able to farm up what he needs with that sustain from his items, and of course his support on Alistar.
I'm curious if Goon's going to go for the Echo as his next item. I think that is the best option that he's going to have. Kuro really, really needs to get that Zhonya's Hourglass so he's not in the same situation that he was before, where he has to burn pool before getting into the fight. I mean, you really need both of those abilities to get another round of cooldowns off over the course of a team fight. And especially against some of these single target assassins, it's going to be very useful. Does he have enough money at the moment? And he does, so that's a very important buy.
And then more magic resist with a null magic mantle.
Yeah, it's probably going to go Abyssal next. Be very defensive, at least for the moment.
I mean, that'll, once you complete them, that'll help your team quite a bit too, with Maokai and Lulu there. And smeM charging towards the bottom lane. He will have teleport by the time he gets there, so if he needs to go to top, he'll make it. Looks like it might be a 4-man gank in bottom.
They were kind of sacrificing one tower for this, so they're going to have to get a
Sounds
whole
lot.
lot off of this dive, but he's going to sneak right into that brush. And you can see Prey setting this up with the culling, just eliminating that wave, and they gotta go on this next wave.
Yeah, oh, Prey taking so much damage, so Pure jumps in, there's a heal. Prey, is he gonna go down first? There's a wild growth to keep him alive, but here comes the teleport from Duke as he lands, and there's the home guard. He's gonna charge towards Prey. There's a depth charge. Prey will be pretty far from the fight, but Watch comes in, explodes this cast, and there's a dredge line from Duke to pick up the kill. Goong is now here to try to turn things even worse for KOO, but they will back off. They already got 2 kills. Najin e-mFire turning things around.
That was such a good response from Najin to be aware that that play had the possibility of coming in. Now, Prey did telegraph that a little bit, and he took a ton of damage down to about a 3rd HP before we saw the follow-up. So I think a little bit of miscommunication and miscoordination there from the Tigers as they tried to get that one, but instant teleport at that same time from Duke to react.
Oh, and here comes Watch for another dive. It is a Maokai and a Lulu, but no wild growth, and there's no minions left, so Najin will just have to back out. Watch is going to take some extra unnecessary tower damage, but he'll just be able to body slam out at the end there.
Kerr also making his way down. He's going to lose some minions on the turret for that, though. But Goong also really on top of that one, having the Spirit Rush, and he already had opened up the map due to taking down that mid turret, and they've got so many wards in the bottom side. Just very well played by Najin. If we take a look at this one again, I mean, Goong and Watch are already moving down here at this point. There's the heal on the Prey and the wild growth, but he's just not able to deal enough damage to Pure during his ultimate to make it worthwhile. Dashes out, flashes out, gets knocked up, and look at Watch. First off, what a great mechanical play by Watch there. He flash body slammed into the Rek'Sai and then knocked both Lucian and Rek'Sai to the side.
And also Prey walking too close to the brush to allow the 3-man knockup from Pure to start things off. Really gave OQ a little bit more time to keep that distance from smeM, from the surprise gank, and Najin trying to lead this right into a 3rd dragon. They do have a pretty big advantage. smeM just trying to deny that by taking that tier 1 on top. He does have teleport, but will he have an angle to port in? Doesn't look like it, so KOO Tigers just a slight passive attempt at stealing the dragon. Not going to happen, and Najin now with 3 stacks and 6 kills to 3.
Yeah, this is still a very close game in terms of gold there, but Najin really starting to run away. These dragons are going to become all important in the next few minutes, and I'm not sure that the Tigers are going to have enough time to get tanky enough. Now, they're all going to group right now, try and use Lucian to clear the wave and take the mid lane tower, but there's too much defense right now from Najin, e-mFire, and Nautilus will be joining as well from the side, and the members of the Tigers are in a very flank vulnerable position right now, so they will have to back off.
Oh, Hojin actually gets caught, condemned to the wall, and there's a body slam explosive cat. There's a depth charge onto Prey. He gets caught way out of the fight, and Goong with another kill on the scoreboard, and Najin will walk right towards Baron at 30 minutes.
Prey's positioning this game has been really suspect. He's taken some trades and taken some deaths that he shouldn't have. He was trying to help out right there after Hojin got caught, but that's a huge Baron for Najin, who is looking like a much tighter team than we saw earlier this week when they fell to Anarchy and were kind of all over the place in terms of their play style. They were just really on top of. Look at that combo. Hojin just has no chance in that situation. And Prey knocking him over as well. But, I mean, Watch has been great on this Gragas, that's for sure. He won that MVP in Najin's first game, and he's really doing well tonight. That play in the bottom lane where he turned that gank around was particularly impressive. Now the last Whisper complete, QSS done.
Wow.
I'm not sure anything's going to be stopping OQ at this stage.
Yeah, things look really good. Of course, already 3 stacks of Dragon 2. That movement speed is going to be pretty big in these fights where OQ really want a kind of a messy fight in their advantage. So like you said, KOO Tigers will need a lot more time, probably at least 10 or 15 more minutes to make something completely in their favor in game 1 of this series. Watch just going to tank that for a little bit, allowing OQ to take the tier 1 and bottom, widening that goal lead even more in favor of Najin.
Yeah, Najin really showing up. Now they didn't have the staying power down the stretch after winning that first game with a similar composition of mid-assassin versus and Vayne when they played up against Anarchy. So we'll see if the Tigers can bounce back a little bit, because I like their composition here, but there's been a lot of misplays. A lot of timing errors from the Tigers, just not very clean in terms of setting up ganks or communicating where Watch is on the map.
And the culling really not doing much against a already very tanky Watch, and Oki's just going to safely take that tier 2, and so is Duke in mid lane. Pressure in 2 lanes altogether here for Najin. Some pings in the top lane, so we'll see if a couple of the members of Najin rotate up there while the others keep up the pressure in mid, or if they'll just all move up there and push down towards that tier 2 while taking control of the jungle.
Yeah, I think they just want to complete their conquest of the inner ring of turrets before moving further. Might as well play this one methodically. They do have this great advantage, and Goong actually going for a death cap. Been surprised about that one.
Yeah, he did finish that after that big fight down in the bottom lane.
Goong looking for a charm, not going to find it.
Preferring that extra damage overall.
Yeah, the thing about it, though, is with Spirit Rush, you have so many opportunities to proc that Luden's Echo multiple times over the course of a team fight, so it ends up being a pretty efficient item on Ahri. And here we go. Just moving all the waves up right now. OQ doing a little bit of split pushing. They have to answer with the Vlad, but it's nice that KOO at least does have an answer to a split pushing Vayne.
Yeah, Frey, whoa, dashing forward, trying to just be confident in the fact that OQ needed some time to join up from that bottom lane so that Najin e-mFire was not looking for a full-on fight. And so Najin will just back off. They got some damage onto the tier 2 and top. They'll be able to revisit later. Pure using that porous Scuttler as just a place to jump over the wall into the river.
Yeah, they want to go for this 4th dragon right now. They want to put the timer on this game when they already have a substantial gold advantage. And if you're the Tigers, I think you got to take this Gragas away from Watch. I think that's been the key. We've seen how much they prioritize this pick, and Watch is too good on it. The Maokai for Smeb has been working a little bit in the top side, and they did manage to grab that early kill onto Duke, but it just hasn't had enough of an effect on the rest of the game. And Smeb, you know, he went for the early home guard boots here, but they never really made a play with it.
Yeah. Never really had a need for it at all, given that Najin e-mFire always taking the first step in these fights, and Najin coming in for an invade, but Prey will finish that pretty quickly. He does have a last Whisper himself on top of his other 2 items, so it's not that Prey is necessarily lacking in damage, although OQ is a BF sword ahead of him.
Well, he's still going to have a hard time dealing with Duke. Duke is super tanky right now.
Just going to get a little bit of lockdown into Smeb. He does get charmed, and he already had to use his ultimate. And oh, they're going to push him right back in with an explosive cask, and OQ's now here to start the damage on whoever's in front of him. He's going to now latch onto Hoshin, and then KOO not able to stick to them. Meanwhile, Duke's going to keep Smeb zoned while Goong picks up a kill onto Gorilla, and OQ just chasing KOO down, not going to have an answer for that Vayne. Oh, there's the Zonias, but there's a tumble, and Watch just going to steal that under from OQ's nose, and Duke still just keeping Smeb at bay, but with way more health, and Watch just... with a barrel from the side.
Smeb is just healing with his passive right now, faster than Duke can actually damage him, so needs a little bit of a helping hand there to finish off the kill. Now they're going to get that Dragon number 4, going ahead and prioritizing that. OQ can solo push into the mid inhibitor at the moment. Only Hojin there to stop him, so pretty clean game from Najin right here, taking every single Dragon so far. And the Tigers not having too much of an answer to some of Watch's jungling, and Watch's really fantastic explosive casks over the course of this game.
Yeah, 209 with some...
Yeah, nearly 100% kill contribution. Taking a look at this one again. So Smeb gets caught out, then he gets isolated. This is exactly the kind of fight they need. Look, they punt the Vladimir out. He's been ghosting this entire time, and he only, at the very end, managed to get a few attacks down, but by that time he's alone with Vayne and a whole boatload of crowd controlled in the back line. I mean, this composition is being really nicely played out by Najin. They're getting the fights they want. But that said, they've been playing this style in the games that they have won so far. It's only been 2. I assume they're going to win this one. But when they don't have Gragas and they're reliant on this Vayne and an assassin pick, is it going to be able to be pulled off? My guess is no.
Right.
The Gragas explosive cask has really been instrumental to getting Vayne and Ahri in these 1v1s.
Yeah, like you said, that's always been the case for Watch, too. He always has that one champion that he can really make a big difference on for his team, and that kind of that's the centerpiece for their whole team's play style. See if Najin has adjusted some of that coming in after a big loss to Anarchy on opening day. We have Thornmail now for Duke, too.
That's a lot of damage on that.
Yeah. Oh, and a nice dredge line onto Smeb. Once again, the culling already used up, and Smeb just cannot move with all this CC coming in. He does jump onto Ogi, but there's a QSS.
Wow.
A 3-man knockup coming in for Najin e-mFire, and KOO can't do anything as Goong dances around the sides of the fight, and Najin with a quick ace against the KOO Tigers.
And there we go. Finally, the kill goes over to OQ. OQ 5-0-6 had a strenuous couple of minutes early on in lane, but it was turned around very quickly, and now they should be able just to push forward for the win right here. Long death timers in this game, and they have a minion wave to make it work. They're just going to be able to tank it out. They've got this very tanky Nautilus to deal with these Nexus turrets, and that's going to be it. Najin really rolling to a game 1 win.
Well, very well played. I mean, they executed their composition as champion, so we'll see if the KOO Tigers switch it up a little bit in terms of what they prioritize for bans specifically. As we discussed, Gragas should be up there. Well, we'll see what Najin kicks it off with. Azir, yeah, might as well just throw that down. The KOO Tigers will not feel too compelled to ban that themselves yet.
And there you go, Callista as well. That is a champion that OQ has been very strong on, and they will not hesitate to pick it at all first. And there's the Cassiopeia, so mimicking the bans from last time, but what is the last ban going to be from Najin? Now they don't have to take away that Callista any longer. Wouldn't surprise me for them to maybe take out the Rek'Sai here. They're not going to first pick it.
Yeah. But of course, that depends a lot on whether that Gragas ban will come through. So it looks like the KOO Tigers kind of want to wait it on. Wow, OQ's Vayne draws a ban. Mission accomplished.
Actually not sure about that one. I don't think that was really the core of that composition. And there is Lulu, no longer going to be available. Of course, 3 players on the Tigers have shown very good proficiency on that Lulu pickup, even though not too common in the top lane anymore. And LeBlanc not going to be available. So the Gragas is up.
All right.
You would think that they would take it here. Nar and Zed both slip through this time as the Tigers make a few adaptations, but they're going to have that last pick, so they may not be too worried about the mid lane from the red side perspective. Wow, that would be a very interesting first pick here. They did take it in the first round of the draft at Nautilus priority.
Okay, they really want that. And that does open up the Gragas for Wisdom. I'd expect him to take it, not just to take it away from Watch, but again, it is kind of that #1 priority for a lot of junglers, and you get to take it away from Watch, so why not?
And the Nautilus pickup, yes, that has been very powerful for Gorilla in the past, but Duke certainly did really well on it in the top lane in the last game. However, I think that Duke has a massive champion pool and a lot of options. So it does surprise me just a little bit that they would be so heavily invested in that Nautilus pick as opposed to the Gragas. We'll see if it works for them and what Najin's plan is going to be. They could take that early Sivir, but that will probably prompt another Lucian pick from Prey.
Yeah, Prey was cut out a little bit, but of course a lot of that also caused by explosive cast. And once the Gragas is taken, Rek'Sai pretty much the next up for a lot of junglers unless you have a specific plan with something like Sejuani or Nunu.
And so where is this Nautilus going to go? Right now, they've got a very heavy engage composition from Najin. They're going to be able to utilize that speed to catch out their opponents once again. Tigers have an opportunity to go for perhaps some disengage here. Could go for something like Corki Janna to set up some more siege.
Or they could go with Jinx and get caught. And get jinxed on their own. Well, yeah, Corki seems a lot more plausible, especially also Prey has been known for his Corki for a long time alongside his Ezreal. But Prey definitely has adapted time to time from meta to meta.
Now, the Tigers could do something here, like play double AD. Early Kassadin.
Okay. Leaving their support pick for last. Does seem... It does seem a little bit pressured, doesn't it, trying to take it away from Goong, perhaps? Because otherwise I don't see a strong priority in having to pick that first when you have last pick.
Yeah, dangerous too, I think, to a certain degree, that there may be a Zed coming in here. Ahri could be picked up again as well. And you could do, I mean, Kassadin obviously will do better in the lane against the Ahri. But a lot of pressure could be coming in, especially the chain CC of the Charm into knockup or vice versa. And it will be Maokai and Ahri to round it out. So really great movement and engage from the Najin composition, able to create those picks. And with how decisive they were in those engagements in the last game, I think this is a composition that they're going to be quite comfortable with.
Yeah, and even just with one depth charge, I mean, that champion is out of the fight for the first 3 or 5 seconds, depending on how far you have to move out. So not quite sure how well that's going to work for Kuro or Prey. And so then they're going to pick up the Morgana for some extra lane pressure and also for that Black Shield, which is going to help a lot with these hard initiates from Najin e-mFire.
So the question is this KOO Tiger team actually going to lane swap here and try and get some Morgana roams down early alongside the Gragas and try and get Corki into that level 6 position where he's going to be pretty punishing in terms of his sieging capabilities. But they don't have a lot of follow-up siege or early wave clear either, which is...
We are in that second game of this match between Najin e-mFire and the KOO Tigers. So if Najin wins here, we are actually well on our way to making Anarchy #1 by the transitive property.
Ah, yes, the old transitive property, the high points of analysis. I love it. I love it myself. So, Pure in the tri-brush right there. Looks like a Foss bomb from Prey went in. And Tigers really kind of going back to their roots where they were so successful earlier in the season. Of course, that Corki and Gnar really core to their compositions when they were on that massive win streak at the beginning of spring, and it's something that they're going to be comfortable playing around. Going back on his Ahri here, just hanging out in the mid lane for the moment. And it's interesting because this will be a lot about roaming, both of these mid laners with a lot of movement to end up in some of these side lanes if they so choose, and it will be a lane swap coming in actually from Najin here.
All right. Well, like you said, I mean, in that mid lane, of course, with Goong having a little bit more wave clear, we'll see if he can take advantage of that, even post level 6. We're just going to see a jungle follow from Smet, possibly, or just helping with that and then having to go back to lane, but that could end up dangerous depending on the timing.
It may depend here who gets a pretty good roam. Pure is actually waiting right there in the red buff. Looks like he hasn't been noticed yet.
Yeah, I don't think so.
This is...
Oh, no smite for Wisdom. Meanwhile...
Gorilla burning his ignite quite early there. Pure having the same idea. They haven't checked that brush yet.
Yeah, and he's... Oh, he tried to get the steal really close.
Watch has been taken down a little bit, but with Rek'Sai sustain, that's not going to be the biggest deal. But does get some early damage. We'll see if that will actually force a quick recall. Gorilla now looking for an angle, but that is a later trinket ward inside the river. So he's going to be spotted immediately. Both supports heading back down to be with their AD carries. At least for a little bit. Freeze coming in here for Prey. Should be the same thing happening up in the top lane.
All right.
And indeed it is, so.
So we're all back to a quiet level 2.
Yeah, Duke had to tank a lot of that. They gave the blue buff over to Duke, however, which is great for breaking lane freezes on this Maokai. It's one of the big advantages that you can have with a Maokai in the lane swap. If you choose to give the blue buff over, he can just go down there and really safely farm with saplings and use that AoE to reverse the wave. Gorilla is sticking around, however, in the bottom lane. And is he going to finish that recall? There's the TP, and he is going to recall into the top side. So they're not going to be trying to put pressure on the Dragon early, instead focusing on getting this Gnar an advantage, or at least some farm in the laning phase. But this should be pretty good for Najin, just because of that blue buff and the fact that Prey's going to have to take some minion damage right there just to attempt to freeze. Yes. Smeb TPing up. He does have some backup, but they're a little far out right now.
Yeah, Smeb has flash, but he has to watch out. He gets dragged in by the dredge lane, gets stunned by the passive from Nautilus, and an early ignite coming in, and the boomerang blade. Smeb completely zoned out and will have to go back home to heal up without any teleport to get back into lane.
That was a bit greedy from the Tigers. They were delaying right there, just trying to get some more farm in the jungle instead of heading directly over, and Smeb didn't realize that Pure was lurking in that brush, just waiting for the chance to strike. Nearly has to pay for it with a summoner, and look at the CS difference opening up right now between Smeb and Duke. This is a really good situation for Najin, and now Nautilus still going to stay topside. This is pretty bold.
Yeah, just trying to punish Smeb as much as possible. Now we do have Wisdom and Gorilla a little bit closer this time. Maybe they went in for a deep ward. They're not going to spot it, but there's a dredge line again, and Smeb takes another boomerang blade, but a bigger minion wave this time in favor of the KOO Tigers, and there's a dark binding. Oh, nice spell shield from OQ.
Yeah, really on top of that one. Didn't have the vision there, just saw it and reacted appropriately with that spell shield. Gorilla is just here to give Gnar a little bit of cover, and Corki still farming under his turret right there. Looks like Duke has succeeded in reversing the minion wave. Meanwhile, Tiger's still working to that end as Smeb sidesteps one of these boomerang blades. And yeah, it's going to be a little bit. Still trying to just farm from range. However, he is a level down and nearly 20 CS at 6 minutes into this game.
Yeah, it's pretty rough right now for Smeb. It's going to take a long time for him to get his footing again. And so Gorilla's going to have to stick with him for a little bit and then back off when he deems it safe enough. But, I mean, at this point, Smeb can't get close to the minion wave until he has a big minion wave for himself to kind of hide behind from the skill shots of Nautilus.
Yeah, Gorilla just poking out on the map a little bit right now while he can. He sees the minion wave will eventually go back towards Smeb, so get some vision down, see if he can keep some eyes on the map so that nothing untoward happens to his mid laner. Lots of wards around mid. 2 pinks already to help Kuro out here safely farm. As he looks to get to level 6, Kuro goes back for the Catalyst. He's got to be really careful. He's trying to play up. He is 6 now, so a lot of that danger should be relatively mitigated, and Watch isn't going to be able to find much of anything in that situation.
All right, both players on the bottom side of the map will go back home to get some new items. Prey and Duke. But Duke's doing very well for himself, so he's just going to go ahead and pick up a lot more basic stats.
It's 2 levels up now. This is a really huge difference that happened just because Pure was hiding in that brush, and the Tigers didn't respect the fact that the support could have been in that lane. And this is another issue where we saw the Tigers not really respecting where Watch was on the map in the last game, and they made a bit of a greedy play and were really, really deeply punished for it.
Gotta respect the dude potential.
Yeah, the dude potential is...
Go back to the basics. All right. So we might start to see some differences here in mid lane starting from this point on. Both players having their ultimates, and we'll see if one of them wants to make a move for a roam. Or quite possibly maybe Goon going for a gank in the top side. Nar still being pretty weak and behind.
Yeah, you see Duke just coming up there, only boots right now for Smeb, so he's going to have a really hard time dealing with this Maokai, already having to go back again as Duke continues to relentlessly push this wave into the tower. And there's Wisdom, gets his Raptor buff triggered, and clears out the ward. TP used by Smeb. TP advantage for Duke right now. They're in a good situation. Prey is level 6, so they'll be able to do a little bit more work up against this Sivir and trade from long range, taking that Sheen just for the burst damage.
Duke also teleporting back up to top lane, wants to keep that pressure up against Smeb. Smeb did just hit level 6 though, so he'll have his ultimate if he gets into kind of an ult trade once he turns into Mega Gnar.
Yeah, no completed Hex Drinker yet. Duke already finishing that Catalyst, so he's going to be pretty safe in this situation. The ranged auto attack from Gnar not going to be too punishing. With all that sustain that he has, Kuro quickly clearing out that wave, trying to deny Goong some CS while he goes over to take the blue buff. Meanwhile, Dragon being soloed right now by Wisdom.
Yeah, should be pretty safe. Don't see much movement from elsewhere. Watch does come in with a Void Rush, and he's going to see it with the Tremor Sense.
Yeah,
he's going to put some poke
really
down.
a whole lot they can do right now.
Oh,
they
actually cuts
They
off
got the angle,
Prey.
so they're going to have to drop the Dragon now. So Prey
Wow.
doesn't get over in time and has to use his Valk over the wall. So good stop, very good stop there by Najin. And Watch using that Void Rush to get the presence on that side of the map. And unfortunately for the Tigers, they couldn't get enough members of their team into the river to finish off that Dragon. Well, it looked really good for them at first, especially since Kuro was already there. Not enough committal from the Tigers members.
Nope, so Watch is going to take that time to get the Rift Scuttler on the bottom side, and now they'll have better eyes on Dragon. Goong and Kuro trying to go for a trade, but Kuro taking good advantage of his shield with magic damage off of his Noosphere.
He just has such huge sustain right now. There's not a whole lot that this Ahri's going to be able to do without a little bit of help in terms of those trades, like you said, with the shield, and then, of course, the Catalyst and the Flask coming in as well. Should be healed up relatively quickly, any damage that is incurred, but still a 20 CS lead. Smeb.
Oh, and Kuro goes in onto Goong, and here comes Wisdom Can't. Nope, not going to find an angle with an explosive casting. It's a Spirit Rush for Goong, and Goong trying to come back in to try to even out the trade. But Kuro doesn't mind too much. Should probably be going back home, I'd assume.
Or he's going to hide.
Yeah, he does have a health pod, so he's just going to hide to assess the situation. Dredge Lane not going to hit onto Prey. He did have Black Shield.
Nope, not another gank in the mid lane. Watch going into the bottom side instead.
Oh, Wisdom's still here. Explosive cast still here, but Watch going to show up first to kind of just mitigate that threat from Kuro and Wisdom.
Yeah, they don't want to go all in on that. Goong at full HP right now. Kuro still struggling a little bit down at under 50%. So not a good fight to take in that 2v2, at least for the moment. Kuro still healing up with some of these potions and Trying to dodge those skill shots in the interim. Wisdom is here once again. He was just seen, however. Watch has a ward right over there, so they know exactly where Gragas is. Ping's going down. Grand Gorilla looking to recall. So a lot of mid lane focus this time. Both teams really wanting to make a play right there, but Najin having to play a bit more defensively while Spirit Rush was down, but just making sure that Goong doesn't get ganked, and that was some nice attention paid there by Pure and by Watch. And now they're just going to go ahead and auto this turret. Gorilla walks up, W the wave, and push him back. Got some really nice damage down on the tower, though. A few autos, and they had so many wards on the bottom side, they'll be able to easily walk in that direction again with very little fear. Corki just farming up under the turret, looking for that Trinity Force to as fast as he can. Still wards around, a lot of wards around this dragon for Najin. Smeb has TP, but he dot Meganar. This is a bit risky.
Duke also has his TP, and of course he has no concern about timings such as Meganar and Rage, so KOO Tigers still going to start that dragon. And
Ari's not there, so they actually can't take this safely.
From the Najin e-mFire team. And an early dragon for the KOO Tigers.
Pretty early Rod of Ages, too, about a minute early for Kuro. Been doing a good job of farming up as best he can in this lane. And so he'll start stacking that up very quickly right now. Pure still haunting the mid lane.
So everything else has been pretty quiet except for the mid lane as Goong continues to pressure this tier 1.
Yeah, but look at the coverage that they have. So they just took out, Najin just took out the pink ward in the river. So they had 3 people in the river just so Goong would be safe in terms of pushing up. They want to try and trade that dragon for a lot of damage down on that tower, and it's nearly dead already pretty quickly into this game. We're dead even in terms of gold, but dragon may be traded for that cash grab on the tower early on. Gorilla going to back off, and OQ using that orb to make sure that there wasn't a jungler in there.
Yeah, Kuro takes some damage from the Charm connect and the orb from Goong. And Wisdom after that is just going to back off for now, get some extra vision in the enemy jungle, trying to set up the same thing for Kuro as Najin did for Goong. Gorilla showing up mid lane for some backup against Goong.
Yeah, this game has been really interesting so far, just from the vision perspective, because both teams are really fighting over the mid lane at the moment to see if they can actually pull off anything against these assassin champions that both teams are running, but to no avail. Mostly the top side taken over by the Tigers. They snuck in there and grabbed a dragon, but tons of wards on bottom for Najin, which make it dangerous for Praying Gorilla, and this is...
We do have Death Charge prepared for Pure, but we're going to see a port back from Pure. They're not finding that angle as the wave kind of stabilizes a little bit towards the side of the KOO Tigers. Now Wisdom successfully also stole that blue buff away from Najin, so Goong's not going to have that liberty while Kuro will continue to be able to just do as he wishes in lane with his skills.
You know, it was a bit of a missed opportunity from Najin right there. They could have actually tried to contest that blue buff just a little bit.
Kuro sees that advantage going in for a trade.
Well, he's just trying to make sure.
Well, here comes Wisdom. There's a Spirit Rush, an Explosive Cast, not going to connect in time as Goong Spirit rushes right as the barrel flies over to him.
Really questionable flash from Wisdom. They're going to be extremely hard to catch that Ahri if you don't knock her back in the first go. So Spirit Rush, not an easy ability to track down with this Gragas, and so that's a summoner spell that could be pretty important later on, but at least they relieve some of that pressure. The mid lane shouldn't be going down on the next wave. Wisdom can always go there and try and push out the wave if he wants. Instead, he's heading back into his own jungle for the time being. Goong has no more ultimate, so he's not going to be able to play quite so far forward anymore. And you can see, too, Kuro has pink wards on both sides of him to make sure no one's going to be coming from behind.
Yeah, playing really safe from both teams, really, towards that mid lane. Let's see if we see that same support come back for Najin with that Spirit Rush down, as you mentioned. I mean, Ahri's such an interesting champion in that she's so heavily ult-dependent in what she can do.
Yeah, indeed. I like those pink ward positions too because it's preventing Goong from playing too far forward in case Wisdom is standing there waiting to punish him. So by denying vision in those areas, it's going to make Goong a lot more uncomfortable than he otherwise would be when they're trying to kill this turret. So that's a good adaptation here from KOO, just to go ahead and make Goong as nervous as they can.
Explosive cast ready for Wisdom once again, but nowhere near ready for a gank anywhere on the map. He is coming back from base. Meanwhile, smev has been able to catch up in terms of CS numbers compared to Duke.
Yeah, that gap has been closing, which is quite good for him, but he hasn't been able to punish Maokai yet with this ranged auto tag. Here we go.
Oh, he's going to hit the dredge line, but Black Shield in time from Gorilla will keep Prey safe. Watch is going to try to poke down some damage as Wisdom comes for another ward near the mid lane, trying to keep Kuro really safe and give him peace of mind as Wisdom keeps watch out of his own jungle.
Yeah, lots of wards going down right now. Mid until Dragon, both teams really wanting to take this one out. smev keeps repeatedly farming the Krugs just to start dealing with that CS, but Duke at the same time goes and gets Gromp. But this series in particular, we've seen so much jungling from the top laners, even in these solo lanes. So
yeah, thanks to those Krugs, smev doing quite well for himself now in terms of CS. Nothing to be too jealous about compared to Duke.
Yeah, less than 100 gold down now. So the crisis was averted and wasn't actually able to be translated into a more permanent advantage. These teams are just so close right now. There is already taking down that turret. Brings us back to about dead even in gold in spite of the slight CS advantage for Prey in the bottom side. No kills yet in this game. Mid tower going down before a kill. That's not something you see very often.
Yeah, not these days at least. But Goong did do a good job early on bringing that down so low, trying to punish the KOO Tigers for their decisions. And finally it pays off right before the Dragon spawns too. So Dragon up in 5. Goong is going to go home to finish an item before coming back. Spirit Rush is available for that Ahri. And level 2 boots for Goong as he returns.
smev really fast tracking the Merc treads here as well. No early enchantment though for the home guard in case he wants to TP in. So, and just great vision around the Dragon from both teams right now. It's another situation where no one really wants to do that. 1,300 gold, as you can see from OQ. He's got a recall, but he's very scared right now that if he does recall, that they're going to potentially lose a Dragon. As everyone starts to group right there. At the very least, oh, that's a nice delay, actually.
Yeah. And OQ is slightly low on mana, too, so he's not going to be just throwing out Boomerang Blades left and right whenever he wishes. KOO Tigers, they're already starting that Dragon now. Najin did see that with the ward in River, but can they react fast enough for it? Looks like maybe they'll just try to go for a steal from afar, but very not likely that it's going to happen, as we have Gragas on the side for KOO Tigers. So Najin e-mFire will actually just be content with trading the bottom tier 1.
Yeah, that's basically 2 towers that they've gotten off that Dragon because they did most of the damage on the last one and then took it down slowly over time. So the Tigers losing out on a bit of early gold here, but at least they will in the late game be able to force more team fights should they so choose. But I think that getting the early gold is really good for Najin because they're going to be very powerful in the mid game as it is. So having an advantage like that could see them to a nice win if they can actually stop the Tigers from taking this turret. The Corki Trinity Force Power Spike really going to work. They're going in.
Najin's going in, depth charge onto Prey, and he has to flash out, but he's met with Duke as he comes in with a twisted advance. And smev's just going to have to bounce out of that fight, leaving Wisdom all alone, and Oki picks up a kill there for Najin e-mFire. Goong coming down the river to keep Kuro at bay.
Just not a fight you want to take. You have to be able to poke right there, all inning with his Corki so early. And again, Duke just there on a hair trigger. smev coming into lane, but not being anywhere close to being in that Mega Gnar form. So lack of communication on these TP ganks allows Duke to respond so much better in this game, just like he did in the last one. It's not the end of the world, but they're not going to get the tower right now. Looks like no objectives will be able to be taken by Najin, and the gold difference still pretty minor, all things considered, but a little bit of a win there for Najin as they come out of that fight 2-0.
Yeah, nice little nudge for them, having had a slight lead before in gold. Now they can try to secure that. KOO actually going in and forces the Spirit Rush as his teammates show up in mid lane. So the KOO Tigers trying to return the favor in mid. They should be able to bring it down pretty low, but Pure will come up in that lane. And so does Watch from the side, so the KOO Tigers will back off just briefly before they realize all 5 members are there, and they will take that tier 1 in mid against Najin.
And this is what they've always been so good at, is playing around Trinity Force Corki. They can really even up the gold in terms of getting some of these outer turrets down, and that was a great group right there. They didn't really lose too much in terms of CS. Big wave now in the bottom side for Prey. And Smeb also sticking up even in terms of CS in spite of helping his teammate out there in the mid lane. So nice little adaptation from the Tigers, coming from behind after losing from that team fight, but still a very even game. And looks like KOO going for an Abyssal Scepter second. That is not an item that we typically see on Kassadin as a second item, but worried about the assassination potential. And here comes OQ.
Yeah.
They want to take this outer.
Oh, okay, he actually tries tower over there, but has to use On the Hunt to disengage, make sure they don't want to get caught out. Of course, OQ also being a little bit behind his teammates. They don't want to risk getting caught by the explosive cast from Wisdom as the Gragas shows up in top lane. Najin still successfully took that tier 1.
Yeah, but now they have to be worried about being dove, that the Sivir ultimate is down, and Smeb is in that Mega Gnar form, so it looks like they'll trade 1 for 1 in the end, and KOO not really able to do that much right now besides maybe zone out anyone who's trying to defend the turret, and they're going to still catch that wave on the bottom side. You can see Smeb already recalled, ready to take this minion wave, as Duke didn't have teleport and was just slowly pushing it up to not a large advantage right there.
Yeah, the Abyssal Scepter on KOO also going to help with his teammates quite a bit. Of course, all of them doing a decent amount of magic damage. Let's see if that pays off in the next team fight. 2 minutes until the next dragon. The KOO Tigers are up 2 stacks to null against Najin.
Now, Sex Dragon may very well decide the course of this game right now, considering it's very important to both of these teams.
And so Najin realizing that they do want to keep their pink wards, especially around this dragon. They had the earlier Rift Scuttler, but it will die out before the dragon spawns. Prey, after cleaning up the top lane, will also go back, buy a new item, and then join his teammates. Just going to get that recurve bow to lead into Blade of the Ruined King.
Okay, so slow pushes have developed in the top and bottom side. Duke's TP will be up by the time the dragon is. Scuttlecrab will be down for both teams.
Nice spell shield for OQ. Smeb just trying to put down some harass onto Pure. He doesn't want to get caught aside from that, but he is going to turn into Mega Gnar right here, so.
He'll have plenty of time to get his transformation back up, though, which is key. So it's a good time just to go ahead and use that right now and start to stack that Rage Bar back up after that 15-second cooldown is gone on the ability to transform. And Prey going to be able to take down this turret right now, so great pressure. I mean, this is good play from behind. Duke, however, starting to be threatening up in that top side. Smeb is going to have to recall. He actually got his recall delayed by OQ right there. That's pretty important. And KOO will be selected to clear out the minion wave before the turret takes too much damage.
And he'll get a nice little burst of gold for himself. But Duke's not going to let up just yet, especially with that teleport now being ready for him. So KOO Tigers will have to make a bit of a decision as a dragon spawns here. Smeb is still on the bottom side of the map. Looks like he's going to go home and prep himself for a teleport back bottom, if not just to go defend that top tier 2.
He just hit Mega Gnar again, so this isn't an ideal time to fight at all as Duke walks up, starts putting damage on the tower once again. So this is a good time for Najin to make an attempt. They have quite a few wards around the pit right now. They should be feeling very comfortable. They see Gorilla coming in from the jungle, so they know how many people are there right now.
Watch just going to go in and out, setting up the tunnels there for ease of use. Those should be erased relatively soon. KOO Tigers actually not too concerned about those. Tunnels from Rek'Sai. And Duke now taking the chance to actually walk all the way back to Dragon. And Smeb not doing much. He's just going to prep himself for a teleport back in. His range isn't completely built up for that Mega Gnar. Watch trying to come in for a smite battle against Wisdom. Who's going to get it? Watch gets to Dragon, and that tries to even up the Dragon stacks. And Najin e-mFire is going to look for an escape. Watch had those tunnels set up earlier, so he's just going to get out. Smeb does dodge that depth charge with the Black Shield as he turns into Mega Gnar, but a nice dredge line from Pure is going to be able to get him out of trouble as Goon gets the charm onto Wisdom too to deny that advance from the KOO Tigers.
Yeah, really nice little steal right there from Najin. KOO tried to all in on the Dragon before they actually poke people down with the Corki, and now they're heading into the top side. Could this be a possible Baron bait here from the Tigers? They're going for the blue buff at the very least. There is the orb from Prey just to check that brush. They grabbed the blue buff, but not a whole lot else. So really important takeaway from Najin. Nobody actually committing and going to die. Great disengage. And Najin playing with a good deal of patience in this game. Now they're trying to take some wards around this Baron buff, or this Baron rather. And Watch is going to Void Rush up there to make sure that there aren't any shenanigans going on. Indeed, there are not. It would be very difficult with this team composition that the Tigers have to sneak a Baron at this early stage of the game.
Prey has that blue buff now for the KOO Tigers, and blue buff denied from Goon once again, so that hurts a little bit. But like you said, Najin's still pretty happy with how the recent events turned out for them in this game too.
It's a huge relief off of them that they don't have to worry about that, because they can scale in this situation, because that Sivir is going to be a much bigger threat in the late game than the Corki. So they should be pretty comfortable. And also just the burst from Kassadin. Yes, Kassadin does do a lot of burst damage, but if you itemize MR here, you're going to be very successful because of Corki's mixed damage. And you're not going to be too concerned about his physical damage in comparison to all of the magic damage coming out of that team. So I think that this is a really good opportunity for Najin just to take a step back, but they got that Dragon, wait this one out. As you can see, the Cowl's really starting to come into play. Frozen Heart already done for Duke as well, so.
Yeah, wouldn't really hurt for Najin to prioritize that MR, especially with all the poke coming in the form of match damage from the KOO Tigers. And the KOO Tigers will keep the Najin at bay with all the poke, but they're not going to get too much damage down onto them, so Najin not too concerned themselves. They'll just back off for a couple seconds, and then regroup here in mid. Gorilla going back home for the KOO Tigers. And then charging right towards that mid lane back to join up for a possible team fight, or to prepare himself at least.
It looks like the Tigers may be going double Locket in this instant. Locket on the support as well, instead of the more aggressive Zhonya's Hourglass build that we occasionally see. I'm very concerned about having those shields playing defensively and making sure that they can weather the storm of the Ahri burst. Not a whole lot of armor yet, and no Frozen Hearts to deal with this Sivir.
Yeah, just a Randuin's for Smeb. And Blade of the Ruined King finished for Prey, so even...
Well, they're going to try and bait this Baron and get poked down, looks like.
Yeah, Duke's not buying it too much, though, trying to take as much as he can with those saplings. He's pretty tanky, so he doesn't mind taking a couple hits as he throws a sapling over the wall.
Yeah, the side wave control is so good for the Tigers at the moment. So at some point, somebody from Najin is actually going to have to go down there. Duke doesn't want to. He doesn't have TP at the moment.
Yeah, so KOO Tigers really trying to make the most of the situation. Setting things up. Worst case scenario, they get a lot of damage down onto the tier 2. So what is this? Najin possibly looking to push down mid, but they realize KOO's all missing, so they head on over to the Baron pit. They realize KOO's not starting the Baron, so they'll just back off again.
So much CS is going to be lost, though, for Najin.
Yeah.
Because the top lane isn't looking too pretty for them either, and Tigers have been doing a good job of just giving them the runaround in the mid lane, not even giving them the angle. There's the smite coming in to push them off. Oh!
Yeah, we're going to see the Yom is used to disengage from Najin e-mFire. Sounded
Wow,
like
they
O2
have
using
lost
that
an
to run away.
enormous amount of CS in bottom.
And they're still
They've
caught
lost
here
like
in the mid
4
lane.
waves of CS, and they're going to lose even more in the top side. This is excellent wave control
Wow.
from the Tigers.
This is beautiful. They just transitioned right into a tier 2 at top, and Najin has to come in from behind to try to make something happen here. I mean, KOO can either face the fight themselves or turn around and disengage with the explosive cast. Wisdom prepared for that in the case of an emergency right over the wall, and after safety is secured by SMEB, the rest of the members of the KOO Tigers will all exit from the top lane, and now they'll go right back towards the Baron pit. I mean,
Wow, this is fantastic play.
This
the
is an
Tigers.
intricate dance.
Really good setup. Najin's doing all they can, but without teleport, now we're going to have the Baron going down. I don't know if they should start this.
Yeah, KOO did take some damage. Kuro, notably, being a little bit low, so they will have to disengage. It looks like maybe they got a little bit over-eager for the Baron buff. But you know what? They still got the tier 2 in top. They got a lot of damage and CS lost against Najin in the bottom lane.
They nearly killed them tier 2 in the bottom. They probably denied 5 or 6 waves overall, so that is a tremendous amount of gold and XP lost for Najin. And it was a very intricate time. I mean, it's 2 kills at 32 minutes into this game.
This is what we get when we get Najin versus Najin. Good old times.
The Najin off. It's all about winions. No one dies. I love it.
6 inhibitors down in the game. Everyone stand at base.
Twitch chat hates it, but I love it. I love it.
Well, it was definitely a very well planned out situation for the KOO Tigers.
And even then, they get back in time to go for this dragon right now, so the timing around the dragon's still good. Now they're going to try and set up another push in the bottom side to see if they can get a tier 2 there as well. If they can get 1 wave there, it'll probably take it out at this stage.
Yeah, so Kuro working his best to clear out that bottom wave and start the push. And then they'll kick off the dragon too and have that pressure in bottom lane and force Najin to choose. Najin has already made their choice, so they're just going to try to go for the dragon fight in front of the pit. Can Watch go for another steal and maybe another disengage? A charm onto Wisdom, force him to take a lot of damage from the dragon. Watch comes in just in time to start that dragon fight, but Kuro blinks into the pit, and it is going to be Wisdom securing that dragon, forces a flash out of Watch, and the Mega Narc comes out just in time for SMEB to make sure that Najin can't go for any trickery.
That was really good rage management from SMEB right there to make sure that on the opportunity for the engage, it just didn't exist unless you wanted to get Gnar ulted into that wall. Now Najin trying to take out these minion waves, and they have vision control over the Barons, and now Najin can actually start baiting this. Okay.
And SMEB gets pulled in. He doesn't have Mega Gnar right now. Black Shield used, and Prey actually has to go all the way out of the fight thanks to Depth Charge, and Oki picks up a kill onto SMEB. Another twisted advance from Duke, and a triple knockback with his Arcane Smash. Prey also gets caught back. A triple kill for OQ. The game turns on its head as Najin puts pressure down the mid lane and walks towards Baron.
It's like if you hide from the Tigers, they assume you're not there. It's like playing peekaboo with a baby. It's I mean, they're just not respecting the dude potential in all of these bushes. They had no vision, and now this should be an easy Baron for Najin. So after all that hard work of snaking their way around the map, it is all for naught as Najin successfully baits that Baron out and kills 3 members, 5 kills to 0, and that turret in the bot lane doesn't go down either. So still a close game, but it's going to be a tough defense right here.
Yeah, I mean, SMEB literally just inched forward towards that brush.
It was a great catch. I mean, they were prepared for it. They landed the dredge line straight into the Sivir ultimate, but you have to respect, again, the movement and the pick potential of Najin's composition is absolutely massive, and Prey nailed by a charm right there, looked like, at the end.
Well played by Najin. Now with the Baron buff, they're going to put the pressure on themselves here in the mid lane. Righteous Glory popped by Duke to pressure all of KOO Tigers out. He actually chases Prey all the way down into the inhibitor turret with that Black Shield on him.
I don't know if they're going to be able to take much more than this, however. There are pings going down onto the side lanes, but the wave's not in their favor, at least for the moment, so that should buy the Tigers some amount of time. And they're just going to split push right now. Duke with the TP up, so they're going to take as much as they can.
Yeah, this top tier 2 is already at half health, so it looks like OGN Championship should be able to take it down right away in favor of Najin. They won't pressure the inhibitor anymore. No need to. especially with Duke pushing down that bottom lane. So all of Najin now rotating back down bottom, and the KOO Tigers will have to respond appropriately. Now this one's at full health. Can the Tigers keep it safe? But they can't all leave, because then the pressure in the mid lane will continue. So some of them going down one by one to ensure that Najin is also all there. They're not missing out on too much in the mid lane. Nice dark binding onto Goong. Will stop from Goong putting on too much poke before the main wave gets there.
Yeah, at this point too, I mean, if Najin can buy a Banner of Command, their siege is really going to be almost unstoppable from the Tigers, considering that they're so reliant on that magic damage to clear out the minions. Another turret down. That's 3 towers now that Najin took off that Baron, and they jump out to a 4K lead after having nothing really before that last fight. Now, I don't know if they're actually going to be able to crack the base right here. They've got a great composition for diving, but they haven't actually spent the money that they acquired during that quick takedown of the tier 2 turrets. So
yeah,
they're still effectively even besides that Baron buff. They need to go back and purchase before they can reliably and safely dive.
And the Baron buff going to be ending here soon after for Najin, so the KOO Tigers will have some breathing room. Their inhibitors are still safe behind their towers. We'll see them try to farm back into the game.
Well, they can still punish with the dragons at the very least.
Yes.
So
3 stacks to 1 in favor of KOO.
By the time that dragon comes up, the Baron buff will be off, so at least it'll be a more even fight in that regard.
401 Sivir for OQ, though. He's been doing a lot of work.
OQ hasn't had any OQ moments tonight.
I know, it's very impressive. Maybe they finally fixed it. We say that today. Oh, watch. Not able to get over that wall while we're talking about OQ. But OQ has been playing quite well in today's matches.
Bump the wolf right back into the barrel.
The plays, the mechanics from Wisdom.
Just no kills from the Tigers yet. I mean, they weren't really set up to get a lot of kills, I think, early on with this composition, but they've just been mechanically outfought by Najin in the 2 games tonight. And you can see how intelligent they are at when and where to apply pressure, but it doesn't make a whole lot of difference if Najin is just able to roll over you in some of these team fights that we've seen happen. So trying to get some control over the dragon now. 30 seconds left. It's a slow process, and Najin is clearing out wards and making sure that they keep that nice and dark, because that is the weakness of the Tigers.
Yeah, here we go. Najin, are they going to hide in this brush again? Some of them are trying to bait the KOO Tigers into base checking brushes once again. Not going to happen just yet. But again, like you said, Najin does have
How does that even happen? You have barrels, you have corky rockets. There's really no excuse in this team comp. There's no excuse in this team comp for doing that.
And Najin should be able to take a quick dragon for themselves, trying to even up the stacks. 2 to 3, still in favor of KOO for the Dragons, but a decent goal lead for Najin. Baron is up in 2 minutes though, so the KOO Tigers starting to set up some vision around that side of the map.
But it's going to be really hard for them to get it. I mean, just how fast Najin can close the gap with this team. And again, what exactly is this Kassadin going to do here? Can't actually deal any damage to Goong because Goong is going to be moving too quickly. And then you have a spell shield, and the Maokai and Nautilus are so good at dealing with Kassadin.
So Kuro actually
the
needs
answer
to be
is this.
their own baits. But Najin should be pretty aware of it. Tons of pings going around. Oh, look at that. Najin giving the answer to KOO Tigers. This is what you do when your enemy is not seen. So what Kuro can do is check the brushes for the Tigers by jumping in and then Zonias if they're there.
So many options.
Alert, ring the alarm, ding, they're here.
I hope we see that. That would be crowning achievement on their face checking this evening.
Well, the game still could be far from over. It could also end in a moment's notice if either team loses a massive team fight.
I mean, the KOO Tigers, they have to get a really huge pick. That's the way they get back into this one. But with how fast Najin can respond with his team composition, it's just so unlikely. And KOO still, with all the MR in the enemy team, he has no Void Staff yet. So he's not even going to be able to burst somebody particularly efficiently.
That's true.
And you have 2 Righteous Glories as well as Several. I mean, this is ridiculous for Najin right now. They're in a perfect place.
Yeah, well, the one hope for the KOO Tigers is that there is OQ on the other team, although he's been playing very consistently today. And Najin putting on a lot of pressure, and Wisdom actually going in for a slight trade onto Watch, but the KOO Tigers look a little bit dispersed. They have to refocus here as Najin continues to put out poke from the side, and there's no vision in that brush.
Don't put a rocket in there, whatever you do.
The danger's there for the KOO Tigers. Ah, okay. But the next brush, it's still dark.
Well, they've seen enough people that they have an idea that
I would hope they don't make the same mistakes 3 times in a row. The side lanes are, or at least the top lane is pushing quite a bit in favor of Najin. So KOO, okay, well, Watch went back home, but of course he has his ultimate. And again, like we said, the KOO Tigers can't exactly finish that Baron in an
They want to
instant.
engage right now while Kassadin's in the top side. There's the glory.
Oh, and Pure running up, but he had to dodge the Dark Binding, so nice job by Gorilla keeping them zoned out. So we're back to the same dance here, waiting for one misstep from either side. Kuro will be rejoining his team, just clearing that big wave once. Doesn't have the time or the leisure to push up another wave to secure a much bigger wave in favor of the KOO Tigers in top. Bottom side is forming way in favor of KOO Tigers, so they just need a little bit more time to use that as pressure. That tier 2 was pushed down pretty hard earlier, so if the KOO Tigers can wait this out, they could try to get a good choice here out of Najin.
I think Najin should just commit and dive them in the mid lane right now. That's what I would do.
Well, looks like they're setting up for that.
Well, they got the vision control back on the Baron, so maybe they can bait it right now, but I think putting together a stronger siege with their composition and trying to force the issue would be pretty effective.
Right, no vision in the Baron pit for the KOO Tigers, not even around it at this point.
Duke's going to have to go deal with that bottom lane at some point. It's just Tigers trying to play this as patiently as they possibly can.
Yeah, the Tigers are being very patient now. That's a good thing. There's a Black Shield jumping forward just for a little bit of poke, but not going to really connect against members of Najin. And the KOO Tigers trying to keep Najin at bay while they try to shove up the mid lane and the bottom lane together. This isn't allowing Duke to go deal with that, and Smev almost turning into Meganar. Is he going to jump in? They do get a lot of damage onto Duke, and that's going to force Najin to disengage. Nice Dark Binding onto Duke, and the body slam. Tons of damage going in. Black Shield, and that's going to allow Kuro to jump in and finish off that Maokai. Goong has to Spirit Rush out, but Kuro's going to continue chasing Goong below half health, and the KOO Tigers might have found a window to go get that Baron while the bottom lane is pushing up.
Now, Najin looked like they could have just easily gone in on that, but Duke got isolated in the river, and they didn't want to commit to turning around onto that fight. Now the tier 2 is going to go down. They send Duke down there. They're just going to give up the Baron.
Wow. Well, really good
No one actually wants to win this game. That's what I've decided.
Well, the KOO Tigers did make a very good decision after noticing how much damage they did do to Duke, and the fact that Duke was left behind so much during that little poke phase that they could go in and eliminate him right away.
Yeah, I wish we had seen the start of that one again, but look how separated Najin is. I mean, they were behind 3 different walls right there instead of being together to turn that one around. Sure, they're worried about the Meganar, but the kind of advantage that they had, seems like they could have at least tried to fight that a little bit more straight up.
Yeah, Wisdom also with a really good explosive cast, bringing the Maokai closer to himself, even if that's further from his teammates, because that's also further away from the rest of Najin. Secures that kill.
There's Dragon number 4 as well, and there's not really anything that Najin can do about it. So the unwillingness to get into that fight and how they split up upon seeing that Gnar about to transform means that that pick is now being turned into a tower, a Baron, and a Dragon that puts the Tigers on the doorstep of number 5.
And that's a pretty big threat, and the KOO Tigers should be able to use that to their advantage in forcing certain choices out of Najin the next time Dragon spawns. KOO still has that Dragon buff, or Baron buff rather, so they're trying to pressure out this mid lane with the help of the buffed up minions and their newly found Dragon buff. But lots of wave clears still coming out from Najin. They're not in too much of a threat yet. The next wave will be the big test as all members of KOO Tigers are here, putting out poke against Najin.
They have to be so careful. Double Glory, Kassadin's not there. They're not splitting with the Gnar. So Kassadin now trying to rejoin as they attempt to zone people off. So I'm just going to play it safe, back off right to their inhibitor turret, and that evens us up in terms of towers and just dead even in terms of gold as well.
Yeah. This has been a very close game all throughout. 45 minutes in. These are when the mistakes are really going to start to matter. Wisdom just sitting in a ward. He will get caught out by Goon, so he's just going to back off from that one. As they continue to pressure that inhibitor turret, it looks like KOO Tigers will get this. They'll be the first one to open up an inhibitor right for the taking, and KOO Tigers will start to beat down on it. They will take that middle inhibitor. Najin letting go of a lot of these objectives.
The Tigers have been playing around Gnar's Rage incredibly well this game. Every time they make a pressure play, it's right when Smeb is about to transform, and it's really scaring Najin because they don't want to be on the front line when that happens for obvious reasons. But I think they're playing too cautiously.
Well, yeah, now there's no Mega Gnar, so they jump onto Sped. He's not going to get denied from that hop, and a three-man knockup coming in from Watch, and Goong picks up the kill right on Sped. Prey has to back up, but he's taking a lot of damage. There's a Summer to heal. He's still trying to kite with his missiles, and there's a Boomerang Blade. Not going to get the kill on Gorilla just yet. Wisdom has that Black Shield on him. Watch chasing after. The KOO Tigers all have to back out safely here if they want to defend their own base, and the Dark Binding will help, and Kuro actually drawing a lot of attention out towards the mid lane.
So Smeb getting too far up there when he had no chance of turning into the Mega Gnar, and Najin taking advantage of that, picks him off nearly immediately, but there's nothing to take left on the map. I mean, sure, they're going to get some farm, but the Super Minion waves already in their base. They can't push out. They can't take an inhibitor of their own. The waves are not in the right place, so one kill is the only reward they are going to receive, besides maybe holding on to that inhibitor turret on the bottom side for a little bit longer. Prey rolling through and taking a heap of CS right here.
You know, I was really about to say, as soon as you mentioned how well the KOO Tigers were playing around Gnar's Rage, I was like, except for now, since his Mega Gnar's down, he just gets caught. I'm like, oh, there he goes.
It's the advantage that Najin wanted to find, and they got it. So Baron buff's going to be expiring, and again, obviously still anybody's game right here. If KOO can come out with another dragon, it will be pretty clutch. And they will, the scary thing too about that next dragon is the true damage poke coming in from Corki is going to be really difficult for Najin to actually hold a turret against.
That's true. Now, Duke and Watch also both have Thornmail to make sure that if they stick on to that Corki can't even think about kiting. It simply has to either run or die.
Well, same with Wisdom and Smeb, right? So
it's true. Oh, and there's a Righteous Glory, and on the hunt, and Pure goes in, but he took way too much damage. Prey backs out with the Black Shield, is not affected by the Depth Charge, but Kuro gets caught a little bit too deep. He's trying to use his shield to stay alive, and he's going to blink out just in time once again, and Smeb is in Mega Gnar form. Duke gets stunned, and Prey comes back in for the damage on to Duke. They take him out, 76 seconds down for Duke. For Najin e-mFire, Wisdom up front with a lot of health. Smeb standing behind with some poke, and Prey just vying for that option, and Watch gets stunned into the wall, but a single man Mega Gnar ult not going to do much. Everyone on the KOO Tigers pretty low as OQ is still at full health. They're going to have to back out.
He's going to be up, though, with teleport by the time the Dragon arrives, so we can expect to see another fight right there. Dragon and Baron on nearly the same timer because that Dragon was taken 1 minute after that Baron, so Duke goes down again, having trouble staying alive as he starts to stack up a little bit more magic resist right there, but it's going to be a little bit rough for him.
I know how this goes, Monty.
How does it go?
I cast these high-intense team fights about 5 more times with only 1 death.
So they try to go right now because they see that Smeb isn't available, but Kuro actually nearly kills Pure right off the bat, and they just can't quite lock down Kuro as he escapes with that Rift Walk, and Duke follows up with a Twisted Advance, but the kiting is so good from the KOO Tigers. I mean, kiting has been their specialty with this Corki for a long time right now. Pure drops the E. There's the binding onto Watch. They try and burn him down, but just too much damage coming off of OQ and Goong. Wisdom has to get out of there. And so many low members on the Tigers, but no actual kills. Smeb managing to get his rage bar high enough in that to turn things around just a little bit, but only a single kill again, no objectives taken. And at this late stage of the game, one super minion wave isn't really going to do a whole lot, so Najin easily able to keep presence in the middle of the map.
And we're all back to normal with all spells available. There's another good Black Shield onto Smeb, but Wisdom tries to come in from the side, but he's actually going to get caught out. The KOO Tigers have to back up, but Goon going in onto Prey, and there comes the ultimate from Gorilla. It's going to give Prey time to escape, and a nice Mega Gnarl onto Goon, and Goon goes down to Prey with another missile and a phosphorus bomb as Watch gets caught out. Double kill for Prey. He's still kiting from afar. Duke gets slowed down. Another stun from Smeb, and that's a kill for Kuro with a nice body slam onto OQ, a double kill, and an ace for KOO Tigers.
Wow, what great kiting coming in, and that Black Shield was so crucial because it gave Smeb time just to get into that Mega Gnar form, and this will be a win for the Tigers as they charge for it. They have to take out the inhibitor. There you go. So I was like, oh, already taking these turrets. Paying attention, but that's going to be it. So a really impressive come-from-behind win for the Tigers based off of their strength. They're kiting, but man, did it look dicey for a while.
Well played by the KOO Tigers. They really focused hard towards that mid-KOO Tigers, leading to this third game.
All right, so LeBlanc banned again by the Tigers now that they are back on the blue side. LeBlanc, Zedinar were their bans in game one, and Azir taken out immediately by Najin. Azir, Callista, Cassiopeia when they were in red side in game one. So will we see similar bans, some adaptation right here? There is a, wow, they're really concerned with this Nautilus. I mean, they saw how much Najin was prioritizing it. They first picked it in the first round of the draft, both on red and blue side. And they've been using that ult really well. I mean, Prey's life has been a living hell thanks to the thanks to the depth charge, both Pure and Duke really locking him down with it, so they're going to make them take something a little less point and click. And there's the Gragas ban. Okay.
All right, so they don't want to prioritize that, so what do the KOO Tigers want to take as that first pick?
Probably Maokai or Rek'Sai, depending. Najin needs to ban Callista here. You really don't want to give that over in the last game of the series, and there it goes.
All right, and it does look like it's going to be that Rek'Sai, so really shutting down the choices for Watch. That does give the Maokai over to Duke.
They dealt with it eventually last game, however. Remember, the Gnar is still up. Both Duke and Smeb are great Gnar players, so you have that opportunity. But Duke did get a nice lead in the early game, but it evaporated pretty fast after they got into the 1v1, and we saw the dual lane swap back into the bottom side. So Duke can't really count on having that level of an advantage again, I feel, and that's still a tough matchup with Gnar autoing you all the time, and especially if he goes to that quick Hex Drinker. So,
all right, well, the fallback jungler looks like it's going to be Sejuani, and will we see the Maokai locked in top lane also?
I mean, Rek'Sai has lost all the games in this series so far, so the Sejuani lock will come through, as well as the Maokai. So lots of CC again set up for Najin e-mFire.
Ooh, and the Lulu was opened up once again for the KOO Tigers, and a huge flex pick. Could go anywhere in 3 lanes, and the Sivir being prioritized for Prey.
Yeah, taking the Sivir away this time. I think they're really scared about these engage comps that Najin's running. They moved away from the Vayne, but without the Gragas, that Vayne, I think the Gragas is definitely the higher priority if you don't want to first pick it on the blue side, because that's really what was enabling the Vayne in the first place. And now you have removed a lot of their speed and set up a speed composition for yourself with the Lulu and the Sivir together. So they've got a lot of opportunity for some early aggression with the Rek'Sai in the jungle as well. Meanwhile, Najin's going to have to farm this one out more or less. Goong hovering over that Cassidy, but he doesn't know where that Lulu's going yet. I think locking that in this early would be a bit presumptuous. And now Alistar.
Ahri, top of the Alistar. I mean, Ahri, you know, does fine in lane, is fairly versatile, but does fall off a little bit in the late game compared to some other mages. I mean, Ahri, you do play her as an assassin, but she's a little bit in between an assassin and a regular mage.
And maybe you take Urgot here, actually, if you're Prey, and just run the Lulu in the mid lane. Oh, you can't. The Sivir. Unfortunate, actually, because Urgot is a very strong pick against Ahri, because as soon as she Spirit Rushes in, you just grab her with the position reverser and kill her. It's a nice counter pick for team fights.
Well, the Gnar definitely not surprising, coming in for Smeb on the KOO Tigers. What's the last pick going to be, though? Are we going to see the Lulu in mid, or will we see something else to go in that mid lane instead? Ooh, okay. Adding some harder engage for the KOO Tigers here in the form of Annie.
Well, this is a composition that we might see someone like SK Telecom run, actually, having the Sivir with the Lulu in the mid lane. This is not a composition that we see the Tigers run very often. It is a pick comp centered around the mid game, but it puts a lot of pressure on Prey to really position quite well, because he is definitely he's pretty much the only source of damage on this team come the late game. So what SKT does is they just try and run at you, catch you out of position, but they have to set up for Dragon a little bit better than they did in the last one. So there is the Urgot being hovered over as a possibility. And do we go with the... No, we're not doing that.
You say that, but OQ does as he pleases. Oh, I was just about to say, what about the Vayne? It's coming back. I knew it.
Joe Rat would be so sad if this wins.
Well, Vayne is back for OQ.
I mean, they've got a lot of CC to lock down targets while Vayne and Ahri deal with him. Again, the Twisted Advance or the Sejuani ult, the Glacial Prison combo into a Charm can be very powerful just to chain CC. But they don't have the same level of speed that they were dealing with in the last...
All right, one person cheering for a quick game so they can get home. Not too late.
All right, well, interesting level 1. Already Duke just going to pop a sapling into that brush early before the wards go down. Going to see Smeb, but it's not going to see everybody else that's piling into Tri-Brush right now. Duke sees the boomerang. Now he finally spots everyone. So they were trying to set up potentially a stun there from Annie. No wards down yet.
If that boomerang hit, Duke would have been in some trouble, possibly having to use his flash to escape.
So they're trying to detect the lane swap right now. They really want this 2v2 lane. And Annie Sivir is not something that Vayne is going to be overly happy with facing in the laning phase.
Yeah, and Vayne will walk right through that ward. I mean, you can't really escape a ward.
Now, is he going to recall? The question is,
the big question.
The mind games are coming in. So pretty sure he's going to recall. He's going to show and recall on that ward, considering Alistair's already going down. So this is pretty simple. I mean, I think this is relatively predictable from Najin that they would try something like that. So the lane swap is what they're going to get. Not to mention they'll luck out and get the side with the Dragon control as well. So this is all working out pretty nicely so far. Pure already there. Look at that. They're going to get the freeze too. Nicely played. Good timing.
Well played by Najin to try to get what advantage they can for their Vayne. Osman will just have a little bit of a jungle follow. And over in the top, Prey and Gorilla. Not much you can do about it now. Just going to make the most of that situation.
So they're not going to give the blue buff over to Maokai this time.
Oh, but 3 people collapsing onto the enemy red here from Najin. Pure trying to draw as much time as possible. With
he got it.
And he gets the steal on the red buff.
That is huge right there. It's going to slow down a little bit. And watch already there, putting the hurt down onto Smeb. Smeb about to Mega Gnar, but that's a big denial. Pure actually, it was 10 HP, and he got the last auto in.
Yeah, he got the knockup, the passive damage rolling, and then one last auto to steal that red buff. Pretty big against the KOO Tigers right now.
Yeah, obviously it's not the end of the world in terms of XP, but it is very annoying to deal with in terms of Wisdom having a little bit harder time clearing, but that was a good read. So they thought they were going to have the 2v2 in that side, so they started jungling on the weak side and then were punished for it. This is a really good early game plan from Najin to deal with it. Now they're going to have everybody piling in right as this wave comes. They don't even have to burn TP as Prey pushes in, so great lane swap from Najin.
Yeah, they are trying to take every single advantage they can here, and Vayne, of course, getting all the farm she wants slowly but surely, and the solo lane XP will help her indeed. Duke will just soak in all of that sweet, sweet XP that's been gathered in the top lane.
Najin may have been able to be even greedier right there, because after you deny that red buff like that, you aren't going to be as concerned with being dove in that top side. So they may have been able to get away with slightly greedier play, but that is really splitting hairs. Otherwise, Najin, I think, has done an excellent job. And they now have those wards down to make sure that they know if there's going to be any kind of jungling happening in their, around their red buff. As we see Pure looking to get some wards down and return down into the bottom side. Now Speb's getting a lot of farm, not really anything Vayne can do to deny it, but still a very preferable situation for Najin.
Yeah, I mean, OQ also doesn't mind as long as he can get his own farm. And Watch picks up his own red and now comes all the way back down towards the bottom side of the map. Well, Smep didn't really spot anyone coming in from the river. We're seeing pings coming in from Najin. Now both Gorilla and Wisdom are also here, and Pure just gets spotted. For a second, we see some pings from KOO Tigers, expecting that gank coming in from Sejuani, so Gorilla's just going to hide out for now. And then they'll go back and secure some vision behind them.
Yeah, they don't know where Gorilla is or Rek'Sai, so they're not going to commit to that. And instead, they will see Annie on the Tri-Brush ward while Rek'Sai goes up to the Raptors. They still don't have a great idea. Oh, they do. The Raptor buff is already triggered.
Yep. And so Goon just trying to harass as much as possible and steal that big Raptor. Wow. Wisdom really getting starved a little bit in his own jungle.
Yeah, he's a couple big camps right there, and Goon realizing that he had already used that smite to get the Raptor buff means that he's able just to be a little bit tricky, take the big Raptor. Doesn't mean a whole lot, but it is just very annoying for Wisdom to deal with. And
yeah, a slight experience lead for Goon too, having taken the big Raptor there in mid lane. Of course, already a little ahead in CS to begin with. Watch coming in, and the teleport coming in from Duke, and Gorilla's actually going to get caught. There's a condemn into the wall. That'll be an easy kill for OQ. Taking things off with first blood once again, as they did in game one for their Vayne on the side of Najin e-mFire.
Yep, great TP. Did Duke actually get an assist right there? I didn't actually see if he did, but Wisdom's there. Check that brush. 4 wards, not going to find anything, and not going to go too aggressive onto Wisdom. They just want to deny all of this massive wave of CS. This is a really beautiful lane swap from Najin.
Yeah, I mean, nothing KOO can do about it at this point. That tower will go down eventually to all these minions, wasting as many CS as you can against the Tigers. And Duke did not get that assist on the gank.
Look at Duke's CS now, too. Oh, and they could have pushed this, I feel, a little bit harder. It's not going to go all the way into the tower. They're actually going to give Prey the CS, interestingly enough. He is the core damage member of this team, so he's going to run back. They're going to lose some of it to the turret, but they are intentionally putting Smeb at a disadvantage right here.
Yep, choosing to boost Prey as he's been able to farm just fine anyway. Like you mentioned in the beginning, Monty, Prey being that main damage dealer, they have a lot relying on him to win the game.
He's only going to get 4 CS off of that, though. That is really bad. So there were probably 2 to 3 waves of CS that were denied overall. And that's coming out of Smeb's pocket mostly. 18 to 36, double for Duke off of that really nice setup in the bottom side.
And Smeb will have to watch out once again as his Vayne shows up in top lane, the possibility of a dive coming in. So Smeb definitely wants to back out. He puts down his boomerang to try to check if anyone's in this brush. And he doesn't have a ward just yet. He's waiting for his trinket, but he's going to spot enemies already. But there's a headbutt and back into his tower.
He's going to hop out in the end. very concerned about that condemn at the moment, of course. That's one of the dangers of Vayne Alistair is the setup for the condemn. And now we see Lulu roaming right here just to push them back. But that's going to give Goong a lot of free autos onto this turret. Gorilla walking into the top side as well, but it's so well warded that nobody can really get into that lane. Look at this. Prey now coming to the top side as well.
I mean, someone somewhere is losing CS constantly on the KOO Tigers right now.
Well, it's just such good uniform pressure from Najin, and they didn't want to push out too far because they just simply don't have the vision to maintain it, and they need to make sure these towers stay up. So Smeb is going to head down to the bottom side. They've actually decided to give him that wave of CS after all, after seeing he's still at 50% of what Duke is at.
Yeah, if he doesn't watch out, he will just start to get completely shut down by whoever shows up in his lane. So should be able to start catching up a little bit here in the bottom as 4 members of Najin show up once again in the top lane.
It was a mistake to send Sivir bottom and then send Smeb top, because the problem is you need the Sivir wave clear just to hang on right now. But Najin looking for...
the Wolf Spirit helping out the KOO Tigers a little bit. Now 2 members still there, but it's going to be a 5-man dive. They're already cut off from their escape. A double knockup coming in from Pure, and they all jump in. Duke gets 1 kill. Goong still putting out damage from the side. Prey is going to go down to Goong eventually. Smeb trying to chase up, but does he have the damage follow through? He does. He picks up the kill against Goong. They're trying to chase onto Oki. Oki taking some tower damage, but Lulu can't catch up just yet, and Smeb also not level 6. They will get the flash out of Oki, though.
Well, yes, but they pay for it pretty dearly right there. 2 for 1 overall. Najin unable to push through the turret, so Tigers reacting in the nick of time, but that's going to be some nice extra gold as we take a look at this dive again. And you can't stand that close to the wall. The Alistair Vayne combo will just nail you every single time. Prey couldn't even get his spell shield up in time to block any of that. Goong does find himself on the outside. Smeb hops over and takes him out with a couple of autos. And then they have to burn a lot of flashes to get out from under that. So big scuffle under the top lane turret. It does increase Najin's gold advantage, but Smeb stays alive, is now back in the bottom side, trying to get some of these Krugs as well, desperately attempting to catch up in terms of CS and levels. But Najin going to use this opportunity where they have bottom lane pressure, just take a dragon. Perfectly good call.
Yep. Not going to really see any opposition from the KOO Tigers. They're too busy trying to catch up. And it will be the first dragon going over to Najin at around the 11-minute mark of the game.
Smeb playing this so patiently, too. He's just waiting and waiting and waiting for this minion wave to come back his way. And he's scared of what's happening after this dragon goes down, and it's every right to be. Alistair and Vayne there trying to push up.
Yeah, so Smeb will just have to keep waiting. He'll have to play the waiting game. There it is, the minion finally pushing through. And he's starting to catch up once again, as he did last game. But we'll see if that's going to matter much, as OQ continues to grow without much opposition from the KOO Tigers. Already finished, or nearly finished, is Blade of the Ruined King.
Yeah, Gorilla really in damage control mode right now. Now they're going to push back out with Sivir again, and Smeb swapping up, but they may just lose this turret. Smeb with no TP at the current time.
Yeah, losing out a bit of CS2 to that turret.
I don't really agree with what we're seeing the Tigers do in some of these lane swap scenarios, where I know they want to give Prey as much CS as possible because they really need him to do damage, and their mid-game focus composition is going to be at a gold disadvantage, which is very problematic for them. And so they're going to be mostly relying on the utility from Gnar as opposed to his tankiness, because they want to make those picks. So it is really important that a fast Infinity Edge be completed so they can hit the right timing with their composition. Najin in a very good place, obviously, to take this late, where all of that crowd control is going to be very useful to them. But it's still pretty risky. And I haven't really seen anyone else besides SK Telecom play the style of composition that we're seeing the Tigers run. So they're definitely taking a page out of a different team's book. And it remains to be seen how well they can actually execute it when it comes to these team fights, because we've just had a rather wacky lane swap that Najin played very well.
Yeah, I mean, it was really Najin making things happen there for themselves, and the pink ward getting taken out by Wash, but Gorilla does show up. But eventually Wisdom will pick up his own red buff and back out. Meanwhile, OQ still farming away with not a care in the world. And Smeb still a little bit behind, 20 CS about, compared to Duke, but doing his best to at least keep it that way and not even worse.
Yeah, he's got a big wave too and another one coming in, so he's actually going to be able to normalize pretty soon. That dive actually doing him some favors, especially since he got a kill during it also.
Yeah.
Still going for the Merc Treads and the Hex Drinker as the first items though, so really wanting just to kind of bully Duke in lane. And Duke right now can't push this into the tower because he simply doesn't have the wards to play that aggressively. So he's trying to threaten the blue buff right now, put some pressure on so Goon can get some autos. And Kuro's going to step out to attempt to take the blue, but that's a lot of damage on the turret for a blue buff.
Yeah, missed out on 2 CS at the end there too. Really didn't want to give that blue up. So you'll pick that up. Of course, Rek'Sai and Nard, not champions who will fully utilize the blue buff to begin with. Pure looking for an angle from behind. 3 members under the tier 1 mid here. As the Najin team tries to chip away at it, they did a good job. And the next chance they get, they'll be able to take that tower.
What Najin really needed was more wards in top side at that current time, because Duke wasn't able to shove the wave into turret to deny some of it from Smeb. And so Smeb ended up actually surpassing him in farm now as a result of that. So it's really up to the jungler and support from Najin to continue to move into that side of the map. And had they been able to get those wards in, not only would they have pushed that wave up to the turret, they probably would have gotten blue buff and may have gotten the mid lane tower as well as a result. But there just wasn't enough pressure onto the Tigers at that specific time. So could have been set up better from Najin, and they don't get as much of an advantage. And now all of a sudden this Gnar is right back into this game, surprisingly.
All right, mid lane has just been a bit of a standoff the whole time. And OQ rotating back and forth between the side lanes, trying to push it up whenever he has a chance. But like you mentioned, the KOO Tigers trying to stabilize across the board here. They will react with their own dual lane coming down in bottom to pick up that CS that's been building up.
And the question is, Prey has to go back now. He should have an Infinity Edge, and this is one of those fights that the Tigers really have to win, because how SK Telecom plays this, if you do not have Dragon advantage going into the late game, you're pretty screwed. You have to be able to force those fights again and again during your timing window, or perhaps get a 5th Dragon in order to be even late, just in terms of damage. If Najin's able to stall out another Dragon, it's going to be pretty darn bad. This is exactly where the Tigers need to do something big, have that big play, have that big team fight.
All right, well, 15 seconds left. Najin does have a little bit of a position advantage in terms of Dragon, but the KOO Tigers putting up pressure here in the tier 1 against Najin in mid lane. Prey trying to get some poke down onto it. It's still pretty healthy though. Goong, meanwhile, is almost at half health, so that will be possibly an issue for Najin in contesting this Dragon and or mid tier 1.
Yeah, that's actually huge that he took a lot of damage from the Glitter Lance. He's starting to heal up, but he's out of potions now, and the Tigers doing a wonderful job of defending their pink wards.
Yeah, OQ is at Dragon though, so Najin will try to start it, but Dragon still hurts a little bit, especially for Pure, who doesn't have too many items. He has to rely on his unbreakable will to tank. Goong is back at full health with that pot and Ari's passive. Now OQ going back bottom to farm, so KOO really needs to commit to one objective or another if they're going to let OQ keep going back and forth and farming like that. And it looks like the tower is their choice. They need to watch out for Sejuani's ultimate, though. That Glacial Prison could come in from a neat little angle, locking up 2 or 3 people at a time.
And they took out one pink ward in the brush in the river. And there we go, Najin manages to grab another one as well. So The Tigers, as Goong is back up to full HP thanks to his passive, they're going to try and take away the red buff. They will succeed. Wisdom is okay. He's going to try and Void Rush right back over to the Dragon.
The Dragon is already at half health. Here's a teleport in from Duke, and watch this run forward, man. Glacial Prison from Watch as OQ skirts around. Goong trying to do damage with a Spirit Rush, and Wisdom will get caught out. Smeb doesn't have Mega Gnar ready. Gorilla goes down. Kuro really low. Prey is still at full health, though. Pure will go down. OQ trying to kite out Prey, but there's the Infinity Scissors, and Prey flashes forward, and now the fight has turned around as KOO, Smeb, and Prey go towards gets a quad kill for Prey, and this is how you make this comp work for the KOO Tigers.
That was exactly what they needed to have happen, and even though Watch hit that massive ultimate on the Glacial Prison, you can see how effective this composition is at this part of the game. They hit the item power spike. That was the fight they wanted, and they take the Dragon as well. So the Tigers still in this one. They actually take a very small gold lead off of that also.
Wow.
Prey with 2,100 gold. It couldn't have gone better. So we see the Glacial Prison come in. Gorilla, ooh, that was actually a waste of the Wild Growth right there. He does get the Tibbers down, but he would have gotten that down without the Wild Growth as well. So Duke goes in, but then Prey here actually hitting a big group Boomerang Blade and getting some pretty nice crits. That crit was absolutely clutch. Both of those crits onto Vayne. A little bit lucky, and Prey able to clean up Ahri as well. But Kuro needs to be really careful with how he uses that Wild Growth. And he knows, I mean, it's the team that has run Juggernaut so many times in the past, but using it onto the Annie right there could have set them up for disaster.
Well, it's 0-0-5 score for Kuro, taking part in all 5 of those kills. Same with Prey, of course, did have that death earlier, but gets a quad kill for himself now, has that Zeal and the level 2 boots.
Wow, that's absolutely huge. Again, this is the guy you need the damage on, and for him to get all of that money right now is incredibly important.
Really well done by the Tigers. I mean, OQ also did have to, I mean, the first Boomerang Blade kept OQ zoned a little bit longer than he would have liked to. So OQ not being able to burst anyone down immediately as the fight starts.
But you really see the difference, too, between this composition with Sejuani and this composition with Gragas. Because they had to group up right there to go in instead of just picking off one person. It left them vulnerable to that big Tibbers that came down from Gorilla. And then all the ricochets and Boomerang Blades, it's just not the kind of style that's going to, I think, be quite as effective with an Ahri and a Vayne pick compared to having that Gragas in the jungle or something with a little bit more disruption.
So Wisdom just trying to get some vision here in the river. I will have to run away from OQ. Prey and Kuro trying to pressure that mid lane as Smeb continues to grow now with a hefty lead. And Wisdom does have to run away from OQ. OQ actually uses Blade of the Ruined King. Wisdom, can he get out? No, he's not going to. Oh, he actually gets a knockup onto OQ, but he will just get caught.
And no tunnel right there available for Wisdom, so OQ really taking advantage of that. Now they're going to try and push down onto this turret, but their siege with this composition is not awesome.
Not so great. Generally what happens with a Vayne.
Yeah.
So all of KOO Tigers did have to ditch that mid lane. So the pressure coming back for Goon. Sakuro shows up to try to even things out again until Prey can join them. So the kill not really translating into any huge leads for Najin, but OQ picking up a kill is just as good as Prey picking up a kill.
Got them a lot of wards in the bottom side. Look at that huge number of Najin wards lighting up that jungle, so they can perhaps make another pick, and that's what they need to do. If they've got this Ahri and they've got this Vayne, you can continue to skirmish like that, make these little picks. And there's not a great answer to a Vayne split push from the Tigers, so they have to be very careful about how they deal with Vayne, especially now that Static Shiv is done. Finally, Vayne has a little bit more wave clear, so we'll be able to push up faster and create a more imminent threat on the map. And Prey going to be going for the Phantom Dancer here. He really needs to maximize that damage.
All right, well, when that finishes, he'll have another slight spike in his presence in the team fight. And as Najin groups up to try to defend their tier 1 in mid, the minion wave comes in from the Tigers. And nice Boomerang Blade onto Goong, and another actual Boomerang onto Goong will keep him zoned, and the Tigers will take that tier 1 in mid lane.
Yep, quick movement right there. Too many people from Najin actually recalling, so now they have that forward position. This is so huge for them. So taking out that mid turret in a pick comp is particularly relevant because you open up so much more room. And Najin trying to do the same thing right here. But for any subsequent Dragons, as long as this mid, nope, they're going to have to give it up. They're just going to trade it for the bottom one.
It was pretty low on health, but Prey trying to make the most of it. So Najin also responding by trying to pressure the tier 2. They won't be able to take it just yet, though, thanks to having a Vayne instead of someone else who can siege a little bit better.
That's even more local gold for Prey right there off of the tower. So he is just getting absolutely massive. 40 CS up at the moment as well. Going to recall.
There's a Phantom Dancer and a Longsword and a Pink Ward to help the team set up for their next Dragon.
And this is really scary. Watch decided to go, I don't even know why he has an Aegis. That's not a useful item against the composition that he's dealing with.
That Tibbers, man. The 4-man Tibbers, they're already prepared to get caught by it, so might as well have a shield for it. Oh, and Watch does secure his own red, though, so give him some credit. He still has his head in the game.
I mean, it just, in this particular circumstance, there's just not any armor right now on Najin. There's no armor in the mid lane because Goong went for that Abyssal Scepter as a second item instead of going for more damage, or more AP rather, I guess I should say.
Yeah. Well, you know, to give some credit to Watch, obviously, I mean, the death cap on Kuro, and I mean, the Tibbers coming down with the lockdown and the Glitter Lance. It's a little scary. It does seem like a little bit of a misjudgment, though, like you mentioned, to prioritize that over the Sivir who just got a quadra kill.
I mean, it's fine when Lulu has a death cap, but Lulu still only has one spell that actually hurts you.
Oh, well. Oh, they know the Tigers' weakness, and that's Peekaboo as Prey gets caught along with Gorilla. The shutdown going to Wash, and Oku getting a kill as Duke shows up. Oh, he misses the flash, though. Sakura will get a nice, easy escape.
Great pick from Najin. Not enough vision right there. They were sitting in that ward that was pink brushed, and now they're going to try and transition this into a potential Baron. It may be too early to do that one. I think they should just go for the Dragon instead, and they're going to turn around.
All right, yeah. Dragons should be just as fine. They'll get that second stack first, giving them some peace of mind, and of course a slight lead. So Wisdom, will he try to go for anything sneaky? No, just to try with his Q, but not going to get it with the smite coming in from Watch.
Well, still a very close game we've got on our hands here.
Yeah.
After that turnaround. Again, that Dragon's so important to the Tigers. So they weren't moving, and Pure,
wow.
What a great engage from Pure. And then followed up immediately, chained in by the Glacial Prison from Watch. Very decisive, very well done.
And that's the scary thing about playing against an Alistar too, is that spell shield doesn't really matter, because if you spell shield the headbutt, you will still get knocked up, and the Tigers trying to do their own little bait, but they are sitting right on top of Ward, and Prey was out front, so he needs to watch out. No Glacial Prison up just yet, though, so.
Yeah, there wasn't really a great way to punish that with 2 ults down from Najin, so they couldn't use that Ward advantage that they had to make another play like the one they did before. And yeah, looks like we're going to be in for another bit of waiting right here. 2 pick comps going at it. Hiding in brushes.
That's how it goes. OQ does have his QSS, so that's good to know. If he does get caught by that Tibbers or possibly a Gnar ult, he'll be able to try to get out of it and continue to tumble around, doing some damage from the outskirts of the fight. Smeb does have a finished Randuin's, another giant spell. Spectre's Cowl instead of the Hex Drinker, since they did transition right into the team fight phase.
Yeah, he just changed that up. Has a random longsword now as a result, however, that he's had for most of this game. And trying to take away the blue buff at the moment. They see all the members in mid lane right there and top lane for Najin, so they're just going to let Kuro go ahead and take that blue buff all by himself.
Oh, it did reset though, it looks like, so he's going to have to walk back and take a couple extra seconds. Now Najin securing that vision around Baron themselves. I mean, look at this war from both teams, mostly from KOO Tigers at this point. A lot of Najin's wards have died out, especially around the Dragon Pit, and being cleaned out by the Tigers, being dispersed. Kind of a checker pattern, and Pure trying to come in from the side. Nice block from Wisdom, trying to deny that, as Watch was also setting up for a Glacial Prison angle. almost a steal on the Raptor, but Watch will pick that up for himself. And Smev now being sent over to the top lane. He doesn't have teleport though, so all of the Tigers do have to watch out. Prey, that was a little risky. Watch got scared first though. It's a game of chicken.
Gotta play fast and loose in this composition, Chobra.
And no big objectives coming up on timers just yet, so neither side really has any pressure to make something happen.
Yeah, but still going even in this game for Najin at this stage and having the one dragon lead is really good for them. And if they could just continue to make picks, eventually they're going to be able to overpower the Tigers in that regard, just through sheer damage and crowd control in this game, having the much better late game, I feel.
And the Tigers do feel the pressure to make something happen a little bit here, so they're getting all the vision they can around the Baron pit. They're going to clean that out. That ward from Najin. They're trying to steal the red buff also, trying to draw it into the brush so that Watch can't smite it out from under them. Now there's the ward, but Watch not wanting to get too close to that one. Red buff does go over to Prey, it looks like. And Duke does get caught out for a little bit of damage. Not too detrimental, does have his ultimate, or will have it rather, after about 10 seconds here. Smite having to be used by Watch to make sure they don't take unnecessary damage on this turret. But Prey still making use of that help picks and Whimsy to get a couple extra hits on it. Duke's teleport not up just yet, so he's scared to go back a little too early and allow this tower to be pushed through. Wow, nice dodge on that charm by Prey with the movement speed coming in from Whimsy.
I mean, the Tigers are trying to play this like Juggermaw, where you actually use the Kog'Maw, but the shorter range on Vayne means that that's a lot less effective with this composition. You really need to focus on controlling vision and catching someone out and killing them quickly, as opposed to trying to play. When you play Kog'Maw like that, it's annoying because he has Bio-Arcane Barrage and has that big range as well as the speed from the Sivir, so you can be very effective in the siege. But Prey, I think, he's getting so close to some of these charms right now, potentially setting himself up to get W'd by Maokai too. It's just, there's a lot higher risk.
Yeah, and also with the Boomerang Blade, he did take a couple tower hits at the end there too, because he will eventually bounce around to the enemies. So, not as effective as Juggernaut itself, but they made some headway on the tier 2 in the top lane.
Still, that was some pretty significant time spent grouping right there. I mean, they didn't really have anywhere else to go at the moment. No wards around Dragon really for anyone right now, despite the fact that it is up in 40 seconds.
Yeah, everyone was tied up in that top lane now. Najin does get the vision back on the top side of the map, but that's allowing KOO some time to set up vision on the bottom side if they wish. Appear getting one ward in the river brush and then two right near the mid side, and we see pings coming in. Duke does have teleport ready. So does Smith, but he's just going to walk up for now. And Prey is a little bit distant from his teammates, so he only has Spell Shield to rely on. Not going to need it anymore as he groups up back with his teammates. One of the wards from Pure is still there. And Smeb just taking the chance to keep pushing up that bottom lane. He says, well, Dragon's not spawned yet. We're not in danger of a fight. And also trying to keep that rage up. He's very close to turning into Meganar should a fight happen right away. Not going to just yet. Smeb is actually going to get cut out a little bit, but he's going to scare Watch away, and that's actually going to trigger enough to force Smeb to turn into Meganar.
Not the best timing, as they just want to keep on pushing.
Oh, but they're going to try to use it without that, but a double Glacial Prison coming in from Watch to keep KOO at bay, and a double knock once again. Prey gets caught in the middle of that, but there's the Wild Growth, and Prey trying to turn things back around as Wisdom goes all the way deep to keep OQ and Goong at bay. Prey still at full health, but the enemy team might be a little too tanky. Nice Boomerang Blade catches OQ though, and that's going to force both teams to back off with Wisdom, the only casualty.
They have to go back right now. I don't know if they're going to be able to fight this Dragon. Duke has teleport in case they want to go to it, but it's still a bit risky with Prey at full HP and those Ricochet and Boomerang Blade doing work. Najin just going to turn right now, maybe try and go for Baron. Bit of a surprise. Smeb is going to recall. He has the TP
up. Yeah, he does. And Gorilla's going to start walking over there. So is Prey, but this Baron's going down relatively quickly thanks to the Blade of the Ruined King. Here's a teleport coming in from Smeb, though. Will the Baron go down in time? Yeah, it's going to, and Watch secures it with the smite. But who's going to get out of here? Everyone's just going to use Flash. And a Baron secured for Najin e-mFire.
Yeah, just a hair too late right there. Smeb trying to go onto the further ward so he would actually join up with Gorilla. So they trade that Dragon for a Baron. Very bold call from Najin, but a good one. They still had all 5 members that could just juggle the aggro. And they had the Vayne, of course, with the Blade of the Ruined King, so sufficient damage just to pull that one out quickly and get everyone to safety. Lots of flashes blown for that, though. 2 pretty important ones onto Duke and OQ.
Yeah. So Najin, they have the Baron to help push, but it's not going to really make any fights super favorable with those summoners down. But they'll make good use of it here in mid lane to push up against a single Sivir. It's going to be a quick tier 2 in mid lane in favor of Najin e-mFire, and they do gain that slight gold lead overall. Now they're turning their focus towards the bottom lane. KOO's already here. Prey does have to go home to perhaps get a new item and refill a mana. Prey also going for
last
the
Whisper. They're going to have to give up this turret as well. There's not enough wave clear here at the moment. Just the Lulu. Oh, the Smite actually may be enough.
Yeah, it's going to help secure that for now. Prey did also go for that Fur Enchantment for now. So that's going to help his movement speed even more, and teammates helping kite around and keep him safe. Prey didn't have time to recharge his mana to full, though. Wanting to rush back into lane. Doesn't have those home guards because of the other enchantments, so he won't be able to refill as quickly.
So you can see the tunnel right back here behind the turret. So Wisdom putting the tunnel there just so he can go back to clear out the minion wave so the inhibitor turret doesn't take damage. He can get there in an instant if he needs to. So smart preparation from Wisdom. And here's a TP.
Yeah, the top lane is pushing up though, so Rek'Sai joining back up. Smeb gets caught by the Glacial Prison, but Prey is safe for now, still on the outside, and he's actually trying to go in, but he goes in a little too far. He still gets the kill onto Watch, but eventually he gets headbutted back. OQ gets the kill there. Smeb with a double stun under the tower onto Pure and Duke, but they're still really tanky as Goon gets another kill. Duke still alive, so is Pure. Eventually goes down to KOO, but OQ now a little low, especially after that glitter lance. And KOO flashes forward, but he's not. Oh, he does with the help picks at the glitter lance onto OQ. Duke falling back to keep Goong safe, but Wisdom goes in with a knock-up, and Goong is slowed down. Gorilla shows up, but the damage is a little lacking between Wisdom and Gorilla, and he goes down. Goong turns around for a double kill, and now Gorilla, the only member left from the KOO Tigers.
So even though the kills went in favor of Najin, look at this, the side wave control, that's what this Gnar was pushing up earlier, nearly taking down the tier 2. They saved their turret, but look at the instant reaction from Wisdom to cut off Duke right there. It was all about that tunnel and the Void Rush as they came in. Now Prey did get caught a little bit far forward and punched back straight into Najin, but at this point the crowd control from the Rek'Sai and the Gnar is just keeping everyone under the turret and continuously taking that damage. And KOO lands that help picks, gets a glitter lance, decides to flash through, flashes the charm for that one, and then ends up with the execute. Duke tries to go back in, and they want to take out Goong right here, but they go just a little bit too deep, and Gorilla actually backs off, uses the Q onto Duke instead, and KOO doesn't have the damage to finish off Goong as he plays with the vision in that brush.
So Goong shows back up with 6-5 score and 4 items finished for himself.
Prey just got a QSS, so that is a big moment. Still no last Whisper onto OQ as well. He got that faster QSS and went into the Infinity Edge, but armor starting to stack up just a little bit. Smev, of course, has had that. Randuin's Omen for a long time, and Wisdom on the cusp of getting one as well.
All right, Frozen Heart there for Duke, of course, but it's only going to matter if he can get in range. Now Prey with that QSS, if he gets caught by the Glacial Prison or by Duke, he should be able to continue kiting. No Thornmails yet for either Duke or Watch either, so Prey feeling safe from that, but it's really now a fight between the AD carries. Basically, who can stay alive longer to do damage. But OK has Goong to help with the finish, so that's kind of the advantage that they have there.
And he's also Vayne.
He is also Vayne. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, obviously.
But he's also OQ, so.
You never know when the tumble's going to be coming in. But still, Tigers going to be struggling, I think, in the late game here. They have to continue to get picks. And they don't have great vision control around this dragon at the moment when it comes up in 45. So they have to find a way where they're going to be able to get the drop onto Najin. Now they do have TP advantage. Duke is not going to have TP by the time this Dragon starts.
Yeah, so Duke should start making his way down after pushing that last wave up top lane. He's actually going to go home first and then join with the home guards all the way from base. Game's still incredibly close. Only about 1.5 to 2.5k gold difference each time we check up on the status for each team. Charm being dodged by Gorilla. Gorilla has his stun ready. Tibber is also ready. All ultimates, in fact, ready for both teams. And watch, looking for a big angle on the Glacial Prison. But we do have Wisdom checking for that, so is Smeb.
And also Crab taken by the Tigers, so it's speed trend advantage.
Oh, but Watch still charging too. They want to get to Prey, but Prey's going to get out of there with the Hell Picks and Whimsy. So much move speed, and Duke actually taking a decent amount of damage from that. Watch also has to Arctic Assault out of there. Smeb continues to chase him down, and he actually forces them to use the lock of the Iron Solari also. As he turns into Mega Gnar, he's going to be able to keep the enemy team zoned, and the KOO Tigers should be able to take this Dragon no problem.
Again, more good use of that Gnar Rage to secure an objective, and because of the difference in the timers, there's no Baron that could be taken immediately in response anymore. That minute additional time on the Baron, they're going to try and transition this into a tier 2 top lane as Tigers have to take the long way around the jungle, but the wave just isn't quite there yet. Gorilla actually going to recall right now. He can't make it back to turret quite as fast, doesn't have home guard, so goes for that distortion, of course, instead. Wants a pink ward and some extra health for the moment.
Oh gosh, I fear for the Tigers. Smeb getting a nice check though. This time around, they learned their lesson, and they will inch forward. Oh, nice dodge on the charm with the help of Whimsy, and they will even out on vision once again. Ooh, the Scuttler being taken for the Tigers though, so Baron pretty much in safety for now.
Yeah, lots of money too on the Tigers here. Prey. See if he goes for a Blade or a Bloodthirster as his next item. I'm curious what he thinks the threats are, but probably Blade, considering that there are 3 super tanky targets onto Najin. But he may, it's a tough call because he may also value the HP and the shield to deal with the Ahri.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, either choice, you can't blame him. Duke does go down to soak up that big wave that's been forming in favor of the KOO Tigers, and he does have teleport now too. Now Najin the one trying to check out what's happening near the Baron buff, but the Tigers will see them through a ward and just back off accordingly. Don't want to get into an unnecessary fight when they didn't have vision for all members of Najin. Now everybody grouped up once again. Some members of KOO Tigers will be going back and rejoining after they get a couple more items or a couple more wards. For the case of Gorilla, picking up another pink ward to have on him.
I saw a Smeb recall right there on the ward in the lane. So they're going to be comfortable just walking in and see if they can clear something. But instead, they're just going to back off right now. OQ also taking that chance to go and shop. And that's a last whisper for him. So he'll be quite pleased to get that item.
All right. QSS for OQ also. And Thornmail for Smeb, along with the Hex Drinker being finished there.
But still no Thornmail finished for the members of Najin. So
yeah,
that's pretty huge. Also Wisdom getting closer to that Thornmail himself.
Yeah, looks like Duke might be able to finish this Thornmail come the next fight. Really interested in how close Prey might be to his next core item using that Vamp Scepter. But KOO Tigers really doing everything they can, trying to take control of whatever buffs they have an opportunity to whenever they're pushed up a little bit. And they started Baron, and they will back out even after the Void Rush coming in as Pure checks it with a ward. There we go. There's the pink ward. That could have turned very sour for the Tigers if Najin took advantage of that first. Now Duke's down in bottom lane. He has teleport up. The KOO Tigers, they're all together, I believe. Yep. Now just there, Gorilla gonna use his extra range to take care of that ward. And are they going back to clear the ward in the Baron pit? Looks like it. Smeb and Wisdom will just be able to do it together. They did trigger that Baron, so he's gonna have to watch out. The ward going back in once again at Baron buff. It's a really repetitive movement here. Even the observer
Yeah, it's constant clearing, but
It's what
another one of
matters.
those games where one of those little mistakes, with how fast these compositions can punish you.
Yeah, Prey really needs to watch out when he doesn't have exact vision. And needs to keep trying. Oh, there's a righteous clear, and there's a knockup. Prey does get caught quite a bit. He's pretty low on health, but he flashes out after the wild growth, but he can't get back in just yet with Goon going around on the side with Spirit Rush, and Smeb can't get the ultimate down before he dies, and Prey will just have to back out with such low health.
And that's another thing where if Prey was playing Kog'Maw there, that wouldn't have necessarily been a bad idea. But the fact that he's so much more vulnerable to the headbutt hold combo in that particular situation, Pure just really takes advantage of it. They're going to try and push out this wave in the bottom side to prevent them from losing too much more, but they have to understand, the Tigers don't seem to get that you have to play this comp differently. You can't do those same kind of baits without the Kog'Maw range.
Yeah, he got a little over-eager with the fact that he still had Whimsy and Hell Picks on him. Looks like they definitely will give up that tier 2, but will the Tigers have to give up this inhibitor turret? That's a huge wave with the Baron buff. They're just going to have to give it up. Prey can't just keep pushing this out. He just has to run back now. The inhibitor definitely still going to go down, but he still needs to show up in base to make sure that Najin doesn't make any other advances on the blue side base of the map.
Yeah, he wanted it to just hopefully push out the wave so they couldn't take even more advantages, but they're going to willingly give up that inhibitor as a result, moving their biggest form of wave clear away from the tower.
Yeah, pretty big advantage going back in favor of Najin with that Baron buff.
Yeah, I just feel that the KOO Tigers are misplaying it just a little bit. They've had some really good team fights with this composition, but they've also made some pretty big errors in terms of how you engage and not playing with the vision enough or not being patient enough with the vision to get that pick that you need. To Najin's credit, they're sticking together really nicely, and Pure in particular has been doing a really good job of locking down Prey in this game.
Yeah, he's keeping his eye on him at all times. Anytime Prey takes one step too far forward, he will go in and headbutt him or knock him up with the Pulverize to keep him locked up so that Duke can then jump on before the spell shield comes up. And now the bottom lane is still pushed back forward. Even with the Luden's Echo, Kuro can't do enough clearing on the buffed up minions. Najin will take yet another tower with this Baron buff. But what matters most is at this point, KOO Tigers, they can't give up another inhibitor. Duke taking a lot of damage, and they're trying to get the pick onto him, but he's so tanky, and Smeb does get caught by OQ, takes a lot himself, in fact, a little bit less, and a 3-man Glacial Prison, but that's only going to elongate the fight a little bit as Prey joins up. Tibbers comes down onto Pure, forces the Unbreakable Will out of it as Prey chases forward, and Pure will be sacrificed by Najin e-mFire. Kill going to Kuro.
And that's why you need to get those picks in right there. Even though Prey wasn't there, they did enough damage to Duke that the threat of the on the hunt coming in. This is going to be Dragon number 4 for the Tigers, so they've actually managed to wrest control of the Dragon count and get themselves on the cusp of actually taking that 5th Dragon and potentially closing out this game in spite of the fact that they have all of these super minions pouring into their base at the current time. Prey going to recall. No one wants to take the danger of walking in there just for a red buff. OQ going to grab it instead.
All right, Goong waiting patiently for a pick here. Making sure not to move, especially with that Rek'Sai lurking around. But that will allow Najin e-mFire to secure vision entirely over the bottom side of the map.
Well, still just going to be stall time here for the Tigers until that inhibitor comes back up. For them, though, it looks like it should come back up about the same time that we see that Baron respawn, so at least they'll be able to contest objectives. But Najin will certainly have the ability to put down a lot of wards before that happens in a much more methodical and easy fashion. So many wards from Najin this game. They've done a great job of maintaining more control over the vision.
Absolutely. Thornmail is finished for all 4 tanks in the game also. And another Warden's Mail getting prepared for Pure on Alistair.
Prey going to be having a very hard time. Doesn't have the Blade of the Ruined King here. Went for that Bloodthirster for the survivability instead. OQ finishing his scimitar right now, so he is capped out here at 6 items.
Yeah, pretty big differences we're starting to see in terms of itemization. KOO just happy to be playing League of Legends.
Happy to be on their ward, laughing.
So we're back to where we were, just with vamped up items. Both sides just trying to clear lanes as fast as possible. Of course, Najin has a slight advantage with the super minions pushing up in the top lane. And it's going to be crucial for KOO Tigers to manage that carefully in terms of timing and when to push. They're leaving Smeb in the bottom to push out a wave without super minions, and then just going out and helping Prey to take care of the super minions, which I do believe will be a little bit quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. And Smeb can just keep on rolling through this. We have a minute and a half until Baron is up. Najin desperately trying to make a pick right now, just holding on, waiting around, and methodically clearing out that mid lane when it does start to inch forward towards their territory. Looks like the inhibitor going to be coming back right now, so it'll give the Tigers some chance to prep around this Baron once they take out that last super minion wave. There's only going to be one more.
Yeah, but there's a lot of wards from Najin, and you can't go forward on your own to clear it, let alone you can't really get caught around the corner by the Tigers either. Or for the Tigers, rather. So they really need to watch how Lichbane is now finished for KOO, so he's going to start dishing out his own damage in teamfights, which should help quite a bit. But that is if you can all stay alive. Najin really looking for the ultimate bait here with this ward. Smeb the one with picks and Whimsy.
They saw Maokai though, so yeah, that was a bit of a tell. And now they know everybody's in there.
Yeah, then his ward got taken out by Vayne immediately, so Smeb gets an idea. Meganar unleashed by Smeb, so they're just going to have to wait for a little bit if they want to fight. Baron is up in 30 seconds, so Smeb's Meganar should be up just in time. His teleport is also ready. Nowhere else to go, though, so he'll probably show back up mid lane after making a little bit of a buy. Frozen Mallet now finished for Smeb. Really wants to keep whoever he finds on lockdown. Most likely OQ being his primary target, but Goon wouldn't be so bad either.
Yeah, Wisdom still just putting some wards in there, trying to destroy Najin's ability to make these picks. They're going.
Glory comes out. KOO's the one getting caught, but he's going to get out of it right away. Gorilla on the side trying to put stuns down, and Prey gets headbutted back into the team, but he flashes right back out. Wisdom trying to zone as much as possible. Prey has an ignite on him, and he can't find a target to keep doing damage to, and he's eventually going to go down to Duke as Duke stays alive, asks for a double kill for Prey. But meanwhile, OQ is at full health, and they're just going to whittle down an absolutely big Meganar, and OQ gets a triple kill, and that should be the game for Najin e-mFire.
Wow, what a great cleanup right there. And I mean, you start to see some of these problems with the composition in the late game. There's just a lot more threats from Najin, and it's so difficult for Prey to stay alive. He picked up a couple of kills in that engagement, but so much crowd control coming in, and Pure Man has really done a lot of work on Alistar this game. Take down that inhibitor. They have a small minion wave, but it should be enough to win. So Najin bouncing back from that tough loss against Anarchy, but coming in with a lot more poise tonight, and they're going to take home the series 2-1.
Well played by Najin. Bouncing back after a tough loss against Anarchy on opening, they win 2-1 against the runners-up of spring season, the KOO